Chapter 12:17. Murong Yu did not venture too deep into the mountains. He only roamed around the outskirts of the White Sun mountain range. After all, he would be in trouble if he encountered a great sage or a beast of a higher realm. Even so, they still encountered danger several times over the next few days. There was once when he was chased by a ninth-order Saint Realm demonic beast for 3 days and 3 nights. Although Murong Yu managed to kill it with the flame of primal chaos in the end. It was a close call. After fighting with the beasts for a period of time, Murong Yu was finally able to use the power of the flame of primal chaos. The flame of primal chaos could only be used on the soul. However, it was not omnipotent. The burst of pressure could suppress any demonic beasts and ferocious beasts in the Saint Realm. It could even intimidate demonic beasts and ferocious beasts in the Great Saint Realm. However, the stronger one was, the less intimidating the aura would be. Moreover, there were some beasts that were especially ferocious. Although they were intimidated, they were still ferocious. As long as they were used to deceive, Murong Yu's flame of primal chaos would have less effect on them. Some beasts could even break free from the flame of primal chaos easily and escape. However, some beasts did not care about the flame of primal chaos and pounced on Murong Yu. The 9th stage sage beasts that chased after Murong Yu were like that. However, Murong Yu did not expect to be able to intimidate and suppress these beasts with just the flame of primal chaos. It was enough as long as they were intimidated. After all, if one's soul was intimidated in a fight between experts, it would turn the tables around. Other than that, the power of the flame of primal chaos could not kill everyone. In Murong Yu's memories, the strongest demonic beast in Claypot was a 9th-level sage. That was after he had expended a tremendous amount of effort to kill him. Just like strength, the higher the realm, the more terrifying the power. It was the same for the flame of primal chaos. However, he could basically kill any demonic beast or human cultivator in the Saint Realm. At least, this was one of his trump cards. After all, he was only a false saint. Who knew that he could kill a 9th-level saint? Moreover, as long as Murong Yu's soul realm continued to increase, his strength would naturally become stronger. It wasn't a legend to surpass one's cultivation level to kill an enemy. After all, strictly speaking, Murong Yu's soul was only that of a first-order sage. A first-order sage could kill a 9th-order sage. This was already a legend. It wasn't impossible for it to be even more magical. Apart from the soul pressure and the soul flame of primal chaos, I am unable to uncover the other abilities of the soul for the time being. Murong Yu muttered in his heart, feeling slightly displeased. This guy was a classic example of a man whose heart was not content, was like a snake trying to swallow an elephant. His 2 abilities were already heaven-defying enough. If he had an even more heaven-defying ability, wouldn't heaven and earth not tolerate him? Of course, greed was part of everyone's nature. Who wouldn't want to become stronger? These sacred nuclei should be enough for 1,000 years of rent, right? Murong Yu had killed more than 1,000 Yao and vicious beasts in the past few days. Moreover, there were 9th-order sages and 8th-order sages. These crystal nuclei were enough for him to live in White Sun City for a few thousand years, or even tens of thousands of years. Thus, Murong Yu prepared to return. On the way, he met a 5th-order sage Purple Skyfox. Murong Yu naturally wasn't willing to let go of these Yao and vicious beasts that he met. Whether it was the crystal nuclei or the corpses of the Yao and vicious beasts, they were all very useful to him. However, at the same time that he destroyed the Purple Sky Fox's soul with a punch with a shio sound, a black light shot out from the forest. It was a black arrow. This arrow landed on the Purple Sky Fox's head within a breath of time after its soul was destroyed. He shot it out of the way. Murong Yu was stunned at first, then he felt a little angry in his heart. This was his prey. The other party clearly knew that he was fighting with the Purple Sky Fox, so why did they interfere? Yay! He had finally killed the Purple Sky Raccoon. It should be a 5th-order sage, right? I didn't think that I would kill it so easily. Could it be that my strength has increased again? Hurry up and bring the purple sky fox back for me. I want to bring it back and show it to my father." Just as Murongyu was feeling angry in his heart, a clear voice sounded from the forest. Then, a group of 5 people appeared in front of Murongyu. The leader was a young lady. She wore a tea-green satin gown with a dark green collar and a yellow rose pattern printed on it. The gown was a tea-yellow fairy dress that dragged on the ground. She wore a pea-green cloud-water golden dragon embroidered satin gauze. Her long black hair was tied up in an elegant and unique hairstyle. There was a squirrel flower embedded with gold and jewels in her hair. She wore a jade bracelet on her hand that was as smooth as cream. Her waist was tied with a silk belt with a pale yellow begonia golden silk embroidered sachet. She wore a pair of green shoes with pearls on her feet. She looked like a mischievous elf. The young lady was very youthful and beautiful, but Murongyu frowned slightly. Because he only needed to look at this young lady to know what kind of person she was, an unruly young lady. It was obvious that the 4 people behind her were not her bodyguards. What else could they be? At this moment, the young lady was looking excitedly at the purple sky fox's corpse in front of Murongyu. One of her guards was already striding towards the purple sky squirrel. Murongyu? They ignored him and turned a blind eye to him. Murongyu suddenly laughed coldly in his heart. He took a few steps forward and reached out with his hand, directly grabbing the purple sky fox's corpse. Then, in a flash, he kept it in the Hichu Luoshu. "What's wrong with you? You even dare to steal my prey?" Seeing Murongyu keep the purple sky fox's corpse, the young lady acted as if she had just seen Murongyu. She was instantly enraged. She quickly took a few steps forward and stood in front of Murongyu. Then, she angrily looked at Murongyu and questioned him. Murongyu could not help but laugh out of anger. This was his prey in the first place. He was already being magnanimous by not bickering with her, but this girl actually dared to twist the truth? He immediately sneered and said, "With your strength, you can kill a level 5 sage purple sky fox?" As he spoke, Murongyu sized up the young lady. The young lady was stunned because she was only a level 3 sage. Under normal circumstances, she could not even kill a level 3 sage demonic beast, let alone a level 3 sage purple sky fox that was 2 stages higher than her. Could it be that I really didn't kill it? My arrow was clearly stuck in the purple sky fox's head. How could it not be that I killed it? A thought flashed through the young lady's mind. Then, she looked at Murongyu unhappily and said, "Of course it was me who killed it. Do you see the bow in my hand? That's a mid-grade saint artifact. Isn't killing a mere 5th-order sage purple sky raccoon a piece of cake?" As she spoke, the young lady proudly waved the saint artifact in her hand. Murongyu did not even look at it. Wasn't it just a mid-grade saint artifact? His Qianquan bow was already far ahead. Hichu Luoshu, wait, that was an existence that surpassed saint artifacts. Even if you have a high-grade saint artifact, you can't kill the purple skyfox. Because you don't have that ability. I was the one who killed this purple sky raccoon, Murongyu said indifferently. Then, he turned around to leave. However, the young lady's guards flashed and blocked Murongyu's path. All of them looked at Murongyu with killing intent. The young lady looked at Murongyu in shock and then laughed loudly. "Are you joking? You, a false saint, can actually kill a level 5 sage demonic beast? Are you trying to make me laugh to death?" Murongyu's face darkened. Only now did he remember that his cultivation had not reached the sage realm. Killing a 5th-order sage demonic beast with such a cultivation realm was simply too shocking. Immediately, he took out the purple sky fox's corpse from the Hichu Luoshu and threw it at the young lady's feet. Then, he turned around to leave. "Stop!" the young lady immediately shouted. Murongyu stopped in his tracks. It was not that he was obedient, but that the guards blocked his path again. This made him very angry. "What's your name?" The young lady came in front of Murongyu and looked at Murongyu curiously. At the same time, Morong Yu felt that his body was covered by the spiritual sense of the four guards. If he did anything bad, they would immediately kill Morong Yu. I don't know you. Why should I tell you? Morong Yu coldly snorted. He hated people who used their power to bully others. My name is Fong Ziwen. Do we know each other? Shouldn't you tell me your name? The young lady, who was Fong Ziwen, looked at Morong Yu and smiled. Morong Yu's face was filled with black lines, but he still said his name. Otherwise, he would be too petty. Morong Yu? Not bad, a good name. How about this? I see that your skills are not ordinary. With some training, you should be able to reach a good realm. Why don't you follow me? Fong Ziwen looked at Morong Yu and extended an olive branch. Morong Yu, on the other hand, jumped in fright. He then looked Fong Ziwen up and down suspiciously. Miss Fong, I'm not handsome, and I'm only a false sage. Please let me go. Fong Ziwen was stunned. This was the first time someone had rejected her. However, she quickly regained her senses. She was furious. Bastard! Who do you think I am? I just want you to be my guard. Morong Yu was speechless. He thought that Fong Ziwen wanted him to be her gigolo. However, even if he was her guard, it was impossible. She wanted him, the great holy Lord Shengzhen, to be the guard of a little brat? That would make him laugh his head off. Not interested. Aya, how can you be like this? Do you know who I am? I'm the young lady of the city lord's mansion. If you become my guard, I can guarantee that you'll quickly break through to the sage realm. Seeing Morong Yu refuse, Fong Ziwen quickly revealed her identity. However, she didn't show off. Chapter 12-18. Fong Tianhe, the city lord of White Sun City, an undead realm expert. He was the most powerful existence in White Sun City and its vicinity. It was not an exaggeration to say that he could cover the sky with one hand. Even though Blood Rain Mountain had many disciples and even ninth-stage profound sages, they still had to respect Fong Tianhe. However, after meeting someone like Fong Tianhe, they still had to be respectful and did not dare to put on airs. Although any undead stage expert from the Blood Rain Mountain could easily kill Fong Tianhe. However, Fong Tianhe was a member of the Nine Saint Nation. If the Blood Rain Mountain dared to touch him, if Blood Rain Mountain dared to attack him, the experts of the Nine Holy Empire would flatten the entire Blood Rain Mountain. Fong Ziwen was the miss of the city lord's mansion, Fong Tianhe's only daughter, the apple of his eye. At this moment, she was known by everyone, because everyone wanted to marry a beauty and then cover the sky with one hand in White Sun City. And because of Fong Ziwen's identity, no one dared to offend or refuse her. Not interested. After knowing Fong Ziwen's identity, Morong Yu immediately refused. Not to mention Fong Tianhe, who was just an undead realm expert, even if it was an ancient sage realm expert, he wouldn't be their guard. Because they weren't worthy. Seeing that Morong Yu still refused without any doubt after revealing her identity, Fong Ziwen couldn't help but get angry. But at the same time, she also looked at Morong Yu in a new light. If it was someone else, they would have been overjoyed. After all, to be Fong Ziwen's guard, he could be considered as a member of the city lord's mansion. Wouldn't resources and the like come rolling in? Could it be that this stinking brat is playing hard to get? He's deliberately not agreeing, but he's actually laughing in his heart? Fong Ziwen suddenly had this thought. Miss Fong, if there's nothing else, I'll go back first. Morong Yu glanced at Fong Ziwen, then looked at the guards in front of him, and slowly said. Those guards still didn't move in front of Morong Yu. Without Fong Ziwen's order, they didn't dare to let Morong Yu go. They were very loyal. This stinking brat has successfully attracted my attention. In some ways, he has succeeded. While Fong Ziwen was thinking about whether she should continue to ask Morong Yu to be her guard, an untimely voice came from the forest. So you're here. I've had a hard time looking for you. Fong Ziwen's expression changed and a trace of disgust appeared on her face. At the same time, Morong Yu saw a group of people walking out of the forest. The person in the lead was about 20 years old. He was dressed in white and had a handsome face. He was fanning himself with a fan in his hand, giving off an air of elegance. If it was only based on appearance, this person was undoubtedly a handsome man. However, Murong-yu saw traces of sinister light flickering in the depths of his eyes. The light on his body was also black. He was definitely an evil person. The young man quickly ran towards Fong Ziwen. It was as if he had just seen Murong-yu on the way, and a vicious light flashed in his eyes. In fact, Murong-yu could even feel an intense killing intent penetrating his body. Murong-yu narrowed his eyes and couldn't help but look at the person who wanted to kill him. His strength wasn't great, but he had definitely surpassed the Saint Realm. He was a great Saint Realm expert. He was 2 realms higher than Murong-yu. After looking at Murong-yu, the young man's gaze returned to Fong Ziwen. At the same time, he said, "Wan-er, why didn't you tell me you were coming here? If you met a bad person or demon beast, you would be in trouble. Li Diyu, please show some respect. We're just friends. Please don't call me Wan-er. You don't have the right. You can call me Fong Ziwen or Miss Fong." Fong Ziwen looked at Li Diyu with an unhappy expression and spoke in a bad mood. However, Li Diyu clearly didn't have that awareness. After running to Fong Ziwen's side, he turned his head and looked at Murong-yu indifferently. He continued, "Is this little bastard harassing you? You might as well kill him." Murong-yu's eyes became cold and his heart was filled with killing intent. He didn't have any interaction with Li Diyu, but he wanted to kill him because of a guess? This kind of person must be used to killing people. God knows how many people he had killed. Murong-yu was a smart person. He could tell at a glance that Li Diyu was Fong Ziwen's pursuer. This guy must have thought that Murong-yu was also pursuing Fong Ziwen, so he wanted to eliminate his love rival. "How dare you? If you dare to touch a hair of his, I'll make your Li family disappear from White Cloud Poplar." Fong Ziwen suddenly shouted coldly. Hearing that, everyone was stunned. As for Murong-yu, he was so speechless that black lines appeared on his face. Originally, Li Diyu regarded him as a rival in love. Now that Fong Ziwen said this, wouldn't his guess be confirmed? Sure enough, at this moment, Li Diyu's killing intent soared. His eyes flashed with a shocking killing intent. "Little bastard, who do you think you are? You dare to compete with me for a woman. You're dead." Murong-yu suddenly heard Li Diyu's voice. Murong-yu didn't want to speak. He just sneered. Perhaps because she felt Li Diyu's killing intent, or perhaps because she found out that Murong-yu was in danger because of her. All of a sudden, Fong Ziwen did something that no one had expected. She suddenly came to Murong-yu's side and grabbed Murong-yu's right arm. She raised her head arrogantly and looked at Li Diyu. "Li Diyu, he's my fiancé. If you dare to touch a hair of his, your Li family should prepare to be destroyed." At this moment, Murong-yu's face was filled with black lines. He really didn't know whether Fong Ziwen really didn't know, or did she do it on purpose? Or was she really big-breasted and brainless? Didn't she know that she had already forced Murong-yu into a dead end? Li Diyu would never let him go. Good. Good. When did you have a fiancé? Li Diyu shouted several times. His killing intent soared. His cold killing intent filled the air and shrouded the world, causing the temperature of the area to plummet. "I don't have any relationship with you. Do I need your approval to have a fiancé?" Fong Ziwen only hugged Murong-yu's shoulder. Her soft and firm breasts only stuck to Murong-yu's arm. However, Murong-yu didn't have the heart to enjoy this. He was now in danger. "Hey, stinking brat, I want to see if you dare to refuse me. Now let's see if you can still refuse." Fong Ziwen secretly glanced at Murong-yu's dark face and secretly laughed. It turned out that she wasn't big-breasted and brainless. Instead, she was shrewd. This was just one of her schemes. "No wonder you refused my many marriage proposals. I see. However, I won't give up. You two better be careful. Don't suddenly die before the marriage." Li Diyu said with a dark face and a deep voice. His voice was cold and filled with killing intent. It was as if he wanted to swallow Murong Yu whole. His words were full of threat. Li Diyu naturally wasn't an idiot. He also knew that Murong Yu couldn't really be Fang Ziwen's fiancé. However, even if Fang Ziwen only used this to provoke him, Murong Yu still had to die. Let's go. Staring at Murong Yu with incomparable hatred, Li Diyu quickly left. If he didn't leave, he was afraid that he would explode and kill. Although he wanted to kill Murong Yu, and he had killed a lot of people like Murong Yu who had a little relationship with Fang Ziwen. However, he never killed in front of Fang Ziwen. He always did it secretly. After all, Fang Ziwen's father was the city lord of White Sun City. Once he was convicted of murder, he wouldn't be able to marry Fang Ziwen in this lifetime. In fact, he didn't have much of a chance right now. This was because he wasn't the only one chasing after Fang Ziwen. Okay, they're all gone. You can let me go. Murong Yu indifferently glanced at Fang Ziwen and said with a bit of unhappiness, "Humph, how many people want to kiss this young lady but can't?" Fang Ziwen fiercely glared at Murong Yu and cursed in her heart. After Fang Ziwen let go, Murong Yu wanted to leave. "Stop, where do you think you're going? Li Diyu is a narrow-minded and ruthless person. He will definitely kill you." Fang Ziwen quickly shouted in a low voice. Murong Yu's eyes flashed with a cold light. Wasn't this matter caused by her? She gave him a strong enemy for no reason. The Li clan is a big clan in the city. They have an undead ancestor. Unless you immediately leave White Sun City, you won't be able to escape from Li Diyu's evil hands. Of course, you have another choice. Become your guard? Murong Yu looked at Fang Ziwen with a gloomy face. He was very unhappy in his heart. You're really smart. How about it? Do you want to be my guard? Fang Ziwen looked at Murong Yu with an appreciative gaze. She was very satisfied. What if I say no? Then you'll be killed by Li Diyu. Fang Ziwen said indifferently. Murong Yu sneered in his heart. He naturally wasn't afraid of Li Diyu and the Li clan. At worst, he would just leave White Sun City. Just as he was about to refuse, his heart suddenly moved. What are the benefits of becoming your guard? Fang Ziwen was immediately overjoyed because she thought there was hope. I can provide you with enough resources to cultivate Saint Crystals and Saint Tools. Can I participate in the City Lord's Mansion's various secret expeditions? Murong Yu asked again. Because when he was in the city, he occasionally heard that the City Lord's Mansion was going to explore a secret area. Yes. Fang Ziwen almost patted her chest as she answered with certainty. Murong Yu nodded. That's not enough. If you want me to be your guard, I won't be your hired thug. I won't be your hired thug, and you can't order me around as you please. Just like today, if you want to go out, you have to listen to me. You can't force me. How was this a guard? This was a consecration. Chapter 12:19. Fang Ziwen's 4 guards were speechless when they heard this. They really couldn't understand why their young miss wanted Murong Yu to be her guard. Murong Yu's request wasn't to be a guard, but to be a consecrator. Most importantly, Murong Yu was only a false saint. Although the City Lord's Mansion was the absolute overlord of White Sun City and had plenty of resources, but there was no need to waste them on this person, right? What made them angry was that Fang Ziwen actually agreed to Murong Yu's many requests. She even looked happy as if she had picked up a treasure. This puzzled them. However, they were only servants and had no right to interfere. Thus, they could only curse in their hearts. Brat, I told you to reject me. Do you really think I'm only big-breasted and brainless? You, a false saint, actually killed a 5th-level saint demonic beast. If you become strong in the future, you'll definitely soar to the sky. Fang Ziwen smiled proudly in her heart, her eyes full of slyness. She wasn't big-breasted and brainless. At first, she really thought she had killed the purple sky fox with 1 arrow. However, she quickly realized that it was just as Murong Yu said. Even if she had a mid-grade saint weapon, she couldn't kill it. Then, Morong Yu must have killed it. However, Morong Yu was only a false saint. Thus, she wanted to recruit him. Once Morong Yu grew, he would definitely shock the world. Fang Ziwen was very happy with her decision. However, she didn't know that Morong Yu was secretly laughing. He had made so many requests. He wasn't a guard at all, let alone a servant. Moreover, he really needed a quiet environment to cultivate. Most importantly, he was really poor now. If he entered the city lord's mansion, he would be able to obtain a certain amount of resources and participate in those secret realms. Secret realms were equivalent to all kinds of treasures. A poor person might come out rich after entering. This kind of thing had happened to Morong Yu many times. Immediately, the group left the White Sun Mountain Range and returned to White Sun City. However, when they arrived at the gates of White Sun City, Fu Tian and Yi Futian were so scared that they wet their pants. Didn't Morong Yu just arrive at White Sun City? He had hooked up with the young miss of the city lord's mansion so quickly? He had a bright future indeed. Therefore, when Morong Yu and the others approached them, Fu Tian and Su Guang's faces were filled with reverence, and they prostrated themselves in admiration. He almost wanted to kneel down and acknowledge him as his master. Seeing their expressions, Morong Yu naturally knew what they were thinking. He casually threw out a few saint cores of saint-level demonic beasts. My two brothers, the demonic beasts we hunted this time, were not too bad. Here are a few saint cores for you. Fu Tian and Su Guang didn't stand on ceremony, and they immediately placed the items into their storage rings. Of course, they thought that Morong Yu had hooked up with Fang Ziwen, so these saint nuclei only belonged to Fang Ziwen. They had never thought that these saint nuclei were from the demonic beasts and vicious beasts that Morong Yu had killed himself. Moreover, Morong Yu even had a 9th-level saint nucleus in his hands. Otherwise, they might be scared to death. I'll come and drink with you guys when I have time. Morong Yu smiled, and then strode into White Sun City with Fang Ziwen. After Morong Yu and the others left, Fu Tian and Su Guang were still looking at Morong Yu and the others back. Fu Tian, you really didn't make a mistake this time. Morong Yu actually hooked up with young Miss Fang so quickly. His future is limitless. Su Guang sighed and said, Haha, I've always said that I have a good eye for people. This is just the beginning. Maybe we can even get a good job because of our relationship with Morong Yu. Fu Tian laughed loudly, and he was very proud of himself. He wasn't proud of his limitless potential in the future, but because of his foresight. He knew that Morong Yu was extraordinary. He was a hidden dragon that soared into the sky. I really couldn't tell. Morong Yu is just a fake saint, but he actually managed to win young Miss Fang's heart. If we have the chance, we should ask him for advice. In the future, we can have beauties in our arms. Su Guang laughed, and there was a hint of lewdness in his voice. Humph! Just as Fu Tian and Su Guang were envious of Morong Yu, a cold snort sounded. Fu Tian and Su Guang immediately looked in the direction of the voice and saw a young man with a gloomy face striding in from outside the city. When they saw this young man, Fu Tian and Yi Futian's expressions changed drastically. What did you two just say? Who captured young Miss Fang's heart? The young man walked over and looked at Fu Tian and Su Guang with a gloomy face. Sensing the intense killing intent that enveloped their bodies, Fu Tian and Yi Futian broke out in cold sweat and began to drip down their foreheads. Young Master Yuan, we were just casually talking. Please be magnanimous and don't bicker with us. Fu Tian's forehead was covered in sweat, but he still spoke carefully. Yuan Zhen was the leader of the younger generation of the Yuan clan, one of the 4 great clans of White Sun City. He was very powerful, and it was said that he had already stepped into the 9th-level Great Saint realm. He was one of the top experts of the younger generation in White Sun City. At the same time, he was also one of Fang Ziwen's pursuers, just like Li Diu. However, Yuan Zhen wasn't as ruthless as Li Diu, who would directly eliminate their love rivals. However, Yuan Zhen wasn't a good person either. Although he wouldn't do anything underhanded, he chose to directly challenge his love rivals. Over the years, he had defeated countless love rivals. Murong Yu was just a fake saint, so he wasn't qualified to fight with Yuan Zhen. Hearing Fu Tian's words, Yuan Zhen immediately glared at her. A huge pressure acted on Fu Tian and Su Guang, suppressing their bodies to the point of collapse. Young Master Yuan, please don't make things difficult for us. We were just casually talking. Up until now, has anyone captured Miss Fang's heart? We were just joking, Su Guang said, his heart pounding. You're right. Apart from me, who else in White Sun City is worthy of Fang Ziwen? Forget it, I won't make things difficult for you. Yuan Zhen nodded, thinking that Su Guang was right. After muttering to himself, he was about to enter the city. Is that so? You, Yuan Zhen? You're making me laugh my head off. At this moment, a mocking laugh sounded. Fu Tian and Su Guang's expressions changed again. They quietly looked up, and then their faces turned bitter. A young man in green clothes with a long sword on his back was walking over from afar, his figure graceful. However, his body was constantly emitting rays of sword-like aura, which attacked the surrounding void and caused it to ripple. Yuan Zhen's face immediately darkened, and anger flashed in his eyes. Zhou Xiuzhu, what do you mean? Do you want to fight? The young man in green was the leader of the younger generation of the Zhou clan, one of the 4 great clans of White Sun City. Like Yuan Zhen and the others, he was also one of Fang Ziwen's pursuers. In particular, he and Yuan Zhen did not get along. Whenever they saw each other, they would either mock each other or directly fight. However, the two of them were evenly matched in strength. They had fought for many years, and there had never been a clear winner. Let's fight then. Come out, I'm going to teach you a lesson today. Zhou Xiuzhu was also furious. With his personality, if it were someone else, he might just laugh it off. However, for some reason, whenever he saw Yuan Zhen, he would be filled with anger. On the contrary, Yuan Zhen was the same. Today, I'm going to beat your pig head until it's swollen. Yuan Zhen was furious, and his figure flashed as he rushed out. Today, I'm going to beat you until your mother can't recognize you. Zhou Xiuzhu also shouted angrily, and rushed into the sky. Fu Tian and Su Guang looked at each other, and then wiped the cold sweat on their foreheads. I wonder how long will these two fight? 3 days or 4 days? Maybe 10 days or half a month isn't strange. I'm already used to this kind of thing, Su Guang said calmly. 2 little brats, what right do they have to compete with me? On the roof of a building in the city, a young man looked at Zhou Xiuzhu and Yuan Zhen fighting in the sky outside the city, and shook his head continuously. He was Wu Guangda, an outstanding disciple of the Wu clan, one of the 4 great clans of White Sun City. Li Diu, Wu Guangda, Yuan Zhen, and Zhou Xiuzhu were known as the strongest of the younger generation in White Sun City. They were the 4 princes of White Sun City. Each of them had monstrous strength and great influence. These were all Murong Yu's so-called love rivals. How would Murong Yu deal with these experts? After entering the city, Fang Ziwen saw Murong Yu walking forward, and she couldn't help but ask, "Where are you going?" This road didn't lead to the city lord's mansion. Home. Murong Yu looked back at Fang Ziwen in astonishment. He didn't know why Fang Ziwen would ask such a stupid question. Seeing Murong Yu's eyes, Fang Ziwen immediately guessed what Murong Yu was thinking. She was angry in her heart. You are my guard now, so you must live with me. Live with me? Murong Yu was shocked and took a few steps back. His face was full of astonishment. Miss Fang, I didn't say I was going to sell my body. Fang Ziwen's pretty face reddened. She immediately realized she had said something wrong. She quickly explained, what I meant was that you must live with them in the city lord's mansion. Murong Yu pretended to be enlightened. I see. Otherwise, I wouldn't be able to be your guard. Fang Ziwen's pretty face was red with embarrassment. She glared at Morong Yu, then turned around and walked quickly toward the city lord's mansion. Don't tell me you've really taken a fancy to my beauty? Otherwise, why would you want me to be your guard? Let me tell you, I'm not a casual person. Morong Yu followed behind Fong Ziwen and muttered. However, his voice wasn't soft. It was unknown if he was talking to himself or to Fong Ziwen. Fong Ziwen stopped abruptly. At this moment, she almost wanted to roar at Morong Yu. Why don't you look in the mirror? Do you think Miss Fong would like someone like you? As the saying goes, everyone has their own preferences. Maybe you really do like someone like me. Moreover, I think I'm quite handsome. Morong Yu seemed to know what Fong Ziwen was thinking and said in a low voice. Fong Ziwen's figure staggered. She paused for a moment, then quickly flew toward the city lord's mansion. She didn't even look at Morong Yu. Morong Yu, on the other hand, laughed out loud. This was because he had said those words on purpose for Fong Ziwen to hear. As for the last sentence, he did say it because he knew what Fong Ziwen was thinking. Chapter 12:20. Young Miss found a top-notch servant. This servant is only a false saint, but he's a big shot. Not only does he have his own house in the city lord's mansion, but he also has many requests. This person doesn't even listen to young Miss's orders. He doesn't look like a servant but a guard. He looks like a servant that young Miss invited back. In less than a day, the news of Morong Yu, this top-notch servant, spread throughout the city lord's mansion. In an instant, Morong Yu's house was surrounded by countless people. It wasn't that they had any opinions about Morong Yu and wanted to kill Morong Yu. They were just curious and wanted to see who this top-notch servant was. However, after Morong Yu came to the city lord's mansion, he went into seclusion and didn't come out. As for the others, they didn't dare to barge into his courtyard. This was because they all knew that Fong Ziwen valued Morong Yu very much. Once they offended Morong Yu, it would be the same as offending Fong Ziwen. At that time, they would be the ones in tragedy. While everyone in the city lord's mansion was filled with curiosity about Morong Yu, Fong Ziwen had already appeared in the city lord's mansion's main hall. In the main hall, there was also a middle-aged man with a dignified expression. This person was the city lord of White Sun City, Fong Tianhe, a rank 9 Undying Realm powerhouse. He was the most powerful person in the area around White Sun City. That Morong Yu is really so heaven-defying? Fong Tianhe sat on the main seat. After hearing Fong Ziwen's words, he frowned slightly. He didn't believe that Morong Yu, a false saint, could kill a rank 5 Saint Purple Sky Raccoon. At first, I didn't believe it either. However, other than my arrow wound, there were no other injuries on the Purple Sky Raccoon. At first, I also thought that I killed it, but I discovered a shocking fact. While speaking, Fong Ziwen took out the Purple Sky Raccoon's corpse from her storage space and threw it on the floor of the main hall. With a thought, the Purple Sky Raccoon's corpse flew in front of Fong Tianhe. An immensely powerful divine sense spread out and instantly enveloped the Purple Sky Squirrel. Other than the arrow wound, the Purple Sky Squirrel did not have any other injuries. Furthermore, Fong Tianhe was certain that the arrow was unable to kill the Purple Sky Squirrel. His soul has been annihilated. Suddenly, Fong Tianhe exclaimed. His eyes flickered as he looked at Fong Ziwen. Do you think Morong Yu's soul is a saint? Fong Ziwen nodded with a serious expression. I do have this suspicion. It was also because his soul had become a saint that he could easily kill the Purple Sky Raccoon. However, it seems that he is still a false saint. Or maybe he hasn't broken through yet, but his soul has already mutated. Father, regardless of whether his soul has already become a saint or not, once he matures, his future will be limitless. It was good to add flowers to brocade, but it was far from being able to provide timely help. If we can give him some benefits before he grows up. Fong Ziwen was boasting. How could she still look like an unruly young lady? He had the appearance of a wise man. In fact, this was Fang Ziwen's true face. You mean we should help him now? Fang Tianhe was a bit hesitant. According to my preliminary observations, this Murong Yu should not be an ingrate. If we can help him, once he matures, he will definitely repay us. At that time, we may be able to borrow his strength to take a few steps forward. He won't just stay in this small city for the rest of his life. Fang Ziwen and Fang Tianhe both knew that unless a miracle happened, their greatest achievement in life would be the White Sun City's city lord. It was basically impossible for him to become a manor head or a higher position. Moreover, Murong Yu doesn't need many resources right now. Even if his soul is not a saint or he is an ingrate, we won't lose too much. Just treat it as an investment. After thinking for a while, Fang Tianhe nodded. Everyone's life was more or less an investment. It was normal for an investment to fail. However, once it succeeded, there would be great benefit. Do as you see fit. When the time is right, I will go and see him, Fang Tianhe said in a deep voice, agreeing to Fang Ziwen's plan. In the next few days, Fang Ziwen occasionally went to Murong Yu's room to deliver various resources, such as low-grade saint crystals, low-grade saint artifacts, and so on. Fang Ziwen's actions confirmed Murong Yu's title as a top-notch servant. This made the city lord's mansion's guards and servants even more curious, envious, and hateful. For Murong Yu, joining the city lord's mansion meant that he did not need to pay any taxes. Moreover, these resources and the like were his salary. Of course, his salary was many times more than an ordinary guard. As for why it was only low-grade saint crystals? In the Holy World, White Sun City was just the lowest-level city in the 9 Holy Kingdom. Without any resources, it was already good to have low-grade saint crystals. As for mid-grade saint crystals, they were already quite precious. Even Fang Tianhe did not have much. Of course, Murong Yu did not mind. It was better than nothing. Moreover, after he left the Blood Rain Mountain, he had already moved a few sacred mountains into the He-Tu and Luo Shu world. Why did he move the mountains? Didn't Murong Yu obtain a Mother of Saint Crystal in the Divine World? He wanted to use the Mother of Saint Crystal to nurture a Saint Crystal mine. Once he successfully nurtured it, he would have a lot of Saint Crystals. Of course, he did not use these Saint Crystals. So what if they were Saint Crystals? The power they contained was limited. The highest grade was of course the Saint bloodline. However, the Saint bloodline in the Holy World was rarer than the Divine bloodline in the Divine World. For example, Fang Tianhe might not even have seen a Saint Crystal, let alone a Saint bloodline. However, Murong Yu's He-Tu Luoshu world contained a large number of Saint bloodlines, primal chaos Saint bloodlines, because no one could use these Saint bloodlines. Therefore, when he was in the primal chaos secret plane, Lu Haotsong collected a lot. It was enough for Murong Yu to use for a while. Young Miss Fang, what's the matter? Murong Yu was cultivating, but Fang Ziwen came in again, which made him a little depressed. Fang Ziwen came so frequently that she directly disturbed him, making him have no time to cultivate. Can't I come and see if I have nothing to do? Fang Ziwen stared at Murong Yu and said indifferently. You come to see me so often, it will cause misunderstandings. What if they misunderstand that you like me? Murong Yu said speechlessly. Fang Ziwen did not know whether to laugh or cry. She felt that Murong Yu was too narcissistic. You are my guard. Can I come to care about you? When will you be able to make a breakthrough? In a few days, there will be an auction in White Sun City. After the auction, our city lord's mansion will have a trial in the secret plane. You'd better break through before then. Otherwise, with your strength. Fang Ziwen glanced at Murong Yu and did not continue. But her meaning was very clear. I say, young Miss Fang, you come here every day, how can I have time to cultivate? If there's nothing else, then go back to where you came from. I want to cultivate. Fang Ziwen was about to explode with anger. A servant dared to drive away their master? This was something that had never happened before. But even though Fong Ziwen was so angry that she wanted to beat Morong Yu up, she was driven out in the end. Stinking brat, I will remember you. Fong Ziwen gnashed her teeth and angrily left Morong Yu's room. It seems that young miss was driven out by Morong Yu? He really is a top-quality servant. When the news that Fong Ziwen was driven out by Morong Yu spread, the city lord's mansion's servants were shocked again. Each and every one of the servants was filled with admiration for Morong Yu, because he was the most awesome servant in history. Of course, some people admired him, while others disdained him. In particular, the stronger servants and guards were even more disdainful of Morong Yu. Morong Yu's actions were nothing more than sensationalism. What ability could a false saint have? Was he worthy of young Miss Fong's treatment? Clearly, these people were jealous of Morong Yu. On the other hand, there were some who remained calm and collected. As servants, they only needed to do their jobs well. No matter how awesome Morong Yu was, it had nothing to do with them. After Fong Ziwen left, Morong Yu's figure also disappeared. He entered the Hichu Luoshu world. Accelerated time cultivation. After he ascended to the holy world, the seventh layer of the chaotic celestial record showed signs of loosening. He was currently comprehending it and could break through at any time. Once he broke through, his cultivation would enter the saint realm. Moreover, according to Hichu, as long as he broke through to the saint realm, he would have a big surprise. However, Hichu didn't say what the surprise was. Morong Yu only vaguely felt that the surprise Hichu mentioned seemed to have something to do with collecting all kinds of things that contained a lot of power. Since Hichu didn't say, Morong Yu didn't care. As long as he broke through, wouldn't he know what the surprise was? However, what he was comprehending now was the chaotic celestial record. It was different from using the saint bloodline to accumulate power. That way, Morong Yu didn't feel the slightest pressure. It was because he had enough power and time. However, comprehending something like this wasn't something he could break through at will. After a few days, he felt that the chaotic celestial record was about to break through to the seventh layer. However, he was still one step away. On this day, Fong Ziwen came to Morong Yu's house again. Then, without Morong Yu's permission, she directly barged in. Morong Yu had left his divine will in the courtyard. Therefore, when Fong Ziwen came in, he appeared. The auction has begun, Fong Ziwen said to Morong Yu expressionlessly. Morong Yu frowned slightly. The auction didn't attract him at all. It was because he didn't have the money to auction. What he cared about was the exploration of the secret realm. He wanted to break through before the exploration of the secret realm. Don't talk nonsense. Either you come with me to the auction, or you leave the city lord's mansion immediately. Fong Ziwen threw down these words, then turned and left. Did this little girl eat gunpowder? Why is she so fiery? Morong Yu muttered, but in the end, he still followed her. If he was kicked out of the city lord's mansion, he would lose face. Most importantly, once he left the city lord's mansion, there would be no place for him in White Sun City. Because Li Diyu would definitely not let him go. Chapter 12:21. Whether it was in the mortal world or in the holy world, an auction house was an indispensable existence. The Blue Flame Auction House was one of the top auction houses in the holy world. It even had a branch in White Sun City. Normally, the Blue Flame Auction House would organize a small auction every 100 years and a medium auction every 1,000 years. The auction they were holding now was a large auction that was held every 10,000 years. In the holy world, time had no effect on a certain group of saints. This was because they were already immortal. So why would they hold a small auction every 100 years? What was the use? One had to know that apart from the immortal experts, there were many people in the holy world who were limited by their lifespans. There were many of them and they were the best sellers in the auction house. Moreover, don't look down on a small auction. How could the items that could be auctioned be ordinary? As soon as Murong Yu and Fong Ziwen stepped out of the city lord's mansion, a mushy voice that made Murong Yu's hair stand on end and gave him goosebumps sounded. Murong Yu didn't even need to look to know who the owner of the voice was. Sure enough, before the voice had even finished, a young man quickly walked over and wanted to get close to Fong Ziwen. Who else could it be but Li Diu? Fong Ziwen frowned and revealed a displeased expression. A trace of disgust flashed through her eyes. Murong Yu, your value as a guard is about to be revealed. At this moment, Fong Ziwen's voice sounded in Murong Yu's ears. Murong Yu's face darkened. Fong Ziwen's meaning was very clear. She wanted Murong Yu to block Li Diu. Murong Yu looked at Fong Ziwen's other guards with a dark expression. Although they were looking at Li Diu with vigilance, they didn't do anything. None of them blocked Li Diu's path. Although they were loyal, they didn't dare to offend Li Diu. Murong Yu sighed inwardly. He was unlucky. Immediately, he took a step forward and blocked Fong Ziwen's path. He expressionlessly looked at the approaching Li Diu. Young Master Li, my family's young miss is going to the auction house now. Please don't block the way. Murong Yu had suddenly appeared and blocked his path. Li Diu was already unhappy. After hearing Murong Yu's words, the anger and killing intent in his heart surged. Little bastard, it's you again. Who did you say is enough? Li Diu's eyes were spitting fire as he stared at Murong Yu with a murderous look. He wished he could slap him to death. Whoever responds is a dog. Murong Yu was not afraid at all and said with disdain. Son of a bitch! How dare you say it's a dog? You're dead. Li Diu was so angry that his lungs were about to explode. With a roar, he stretched out his big hand and slammed it down on Murong Yu's head. Murong Yu looked at Li Diu with disdain, then took a step forward unhurriedly. In the next moment, his figure flashed and he appeared behind Fong Ziwen. As a result, Li Diu's hand, which was originally aimed at Murong Yu, was now aimed at Fong Ziwen's towering chest. Fong Ziwen was not in a good mood today. When she saw that Li Diu wanted to play rogue with her, she was immediately angry. Good. Li Diu, not only do you want to play rogue with me, but you also want to kill me. Fong Ziwen was furious and looked at Li Diu with fire in her eyes. Seeing this scene, Fong Ziwen's other guards' expressions changed. Their figures flickered and they all rushed forward. They unleashed their strongest attacks. Some went straight for Li Diu, while others tried to block Li Diu's attack. At the same time, when Fong Ziwen's guards attacked, Li Diu's guards also rushed up. However, at this time, Li Diu reacted. He immediately withdrew his attack and retreated. Although he wanted to play rogue with Fong Ziwen more than once, it was not in this kind of situation. The most important thing was that he was played by Murong Yu. Originally, he always maintained a gentle and refined appearance in front of Fong Ziwen. Although he knew that Fong Ziwen was very clear about his evil deeds, he still had to keep up appearances, didn't he? But today, everything he had always maintained was shattered. Fong Ziwen originally didn't have a good impression of him, and now it was even worse. All of this was because of Murong Yu. This little bastard must die. Her hatred for Murong Yu, her killing intent was about to materialize. Murong Yu directly ignored Li Diu. His big hand pushed aside a guard that was surrounding Fong Ziwen and approached her. Then he pretended to be concerned and asked, "Dear miss, are you hurt? He didn't play rogue with you, right?" When she saw Murong Yu, Fong Ziwen, who was originally in a state of rage, miraculously calmed down and instantly calmed down. She looked at Murong Yu with a smile. "Murong Yu, is this how a guard should be? You ran away alone when there was danger? You even used your master to block the danger?" Her voice was flat, as usual. But Murong Yu heard the anger in Fong Ziwen's voice. Murong Yu even felt that Fong Ziwen's anger had reached a certain level, which was why she was so calm. Once she exploded, the holy world might be shaken. At least, White Sun City might be shaken by her anger. Murong Yu's face immediately showed an innocent expression. "Miss, don't you see? I'm just a fake saint. Although that rogue wanted to kill me, I couldn't even stop him. Once I'm killed, his big hand will directly grab you. Then, you would be successfully played rogue. At the same time, Murong Yu stared at Fang Ziwen's towering breasts with an innocent expression. This little bastard must die. Li Diyu was so angry that his lungs were about to explode. Because Murong Yu was staring at his breasts, only he had the right to look. Just as Li Diyu was pondering over how to kill Murong Yu, a round of applause rang out from the crowd. Li Diyu, you've finally revealed your true colors, haven't you? Miss Fang, you can't be deceived by such a pervert and shameless person. A young man with a long sword on his back stepped through the air. His clothes fluttered in the wind, and his temperament was extremely elegant. Li Diyu's face darkened, then he turned his head and fiercely looked at the young man. Zhou Xiu Zhu, shut up. Am I that kind of person? Don't make unfounded accusations. Unfounded accusations? Young Master Li Diyu, you dare to say that I'm lying? Zhou Xiu Zhu sneered. After saying this, he came in front of Fang Ziwen and very gentlemanly saluted. Xiu Zhu greets Miss Zhou. Fang Ziwen had a good impression of this Zhou Xiu Zhu. After all, he didn't have a bad reputation. However, she also knew that he was pursuing her. It was just that she didn't feel that way. Seeing the difference between Fang Ziwen's attitude towards Zhou Xiu Zhu and her attitude towards him, Li Diyu was secretly angry. His killing intent towards Murong Yu became even stronger. He naturally attributed all of this to Murong Yu. Poor Murong Yu. Just by standing there, he'd become an existence that attracted hatred. Miss, the auction is about to start, Murong Yu said with a dark face. He really didn't want to see these people fighting here. It was simply a waste of time and life. Fang Ziwen fiercely glared at Murong Yu, then turned and walked towards the auction. Zhou Xiu Zhu glanced at Murong Yu and said indifferently, You are Murong Yu? Murong Yu just nodded slightly and followed behind Fang Ziwen. A false saint guard? Interesting, it's really interesting. Zhou Xiu Zhu muttered a few words to himself. Then, he also followed him. With 2 of the 4 young masters of White Sun City as her escorts, no one dared to provoke Fang Ziwen. However, when they arrived outside the Blue Flame auction house, a young man and a young man came to greet them. After expressing their admiration for Fang Ziwen, they couldn't help but argue with Zhou Xiu Zhu and the others. These 2 guys were Wu Guangde and Yuan Zhen of the 4 young masters of White Sun City. You are Murong Yu? I want to challenge you. Yuan Zhen came to Murong Yu's side and said directly. Murong Yu was astonished and looked at Yuan Zhen as if he was looking at an idiot. Did I hear wrongly? You, a great saint, who is rumored to have reached the 9th level, actually wants to challenge me, a false saint? Can you be any more shameless? While Murong Yu was astonished, the others were also astonished. They all looked at Yuan Zhen with strange expressions. Even Li Diyu was the same. Although Li Diyu wanted to kill Murong Yu, he had already killed him. It was normal for the strong to kill the weak. However, it was truly shocking for a powerful person to challenge a weak person. Yuan Zhen's old face reddened, but he had already said it. How could he take it back? So he continued, That's right, I challenge you. However, I will suppress my strength to the false saint realm. Otherwise, people will say that I am bullying the weak. I accept this challenge on his behalf, Fang Ziwen said before Murong Yu could speak. At the same time, she smiled at Murong Yu proudly. However, the way she looked at Murong Yu made the 4 princes uncomfortable. Especially Li Diyu, who was bursting with killing intent. They all thought that Fang Ziwen and Murong Yu were flirting. Murong Yu's face darkened. Just as he was about to say something, Fang Ziwen's voice rang in his ears. If you don't agree, I will immediately expel you from the city lord's mansion. At that time, Murong Yu was infuriated. What he hated the most in his life were people who threatened him. Stinking brat, I'll teach you how to be cunning. This time, I want to see if your soul has really become a saint, Fang Ziwen muttered to herself. She wanted to see if Murong Yu's soul had become a saint for a long time, but she never had the chance. I can challenge you, but I never fight without a prize. Murong Yu glanced at everyone and said indifferently. He didn't want to put on a free performance for others to see and be treated like a monkey show. You want to challenge me? Sure, then bring out the prize. Murong Yu wanted to take this opportunity to make a fortune. Chapter 12:22. Murong Yu had never feared anyone at the same level of cultivation. If Yuan Zhen hadn't been so powerful, Murong Yu would have been able to kill him even if he was only a saint, let alone defeat him. However, that would expose the fact that his soul had become a saint. Murong Yu didn't want to expose this trump card of his, unless it was necessary. Brat, you actually dare to accept my challenge? You could have refused. You're only a false saint. You wouldn't have lost face even if you refused. Yuan Zhen was rather surprised to see Murong Yu accept the challenge. However, he was soon infuriated by Murong Yu's next words. You're no match for me at the same level of cultivation. However, if you want to fight me, you need to take out at least a high-quality saint artifact or a treasure of equivalent value. Otherwise, there's nothing to talk about, Murong Yu said indifferently. However, Yuan Zhen's face was livid with anger. An ant-like existence. If you don't dare accept my challenge, just say so. High-quality saint artifact? Why don't you say supreme-quality saint artifact? Li Diu took a few steps forward and looked at Murong Yu mockingly. Do you have one? If you do, I don't mind fighting you. Murong Yu glanced at Li Diu indifferently and sneered. Li Diu was immediately dumbfounded. He really didn't have a supreme-quality saint artifact. In fact, he didn't even have a high-quality saint artifact, let alone a supreme-quality saint artifact. White Sun City was only a small place. Their Li clan was only a small clan in this small place. Although the Li clan was one of the 4 great clans of White Sun City, they were only a mediocre organization in the saints' world. How could they have a supreme-quality saint artifact? Even if it was a high-grade saint artifact, it would still be considered a clan treasure in their clan. Although they were all outstanding young disciples of their clans, they didn't have the right to possess a high-quality saint artifact. Fang Ziwen only had one mid-grade saint artifact, so it was obvious. Yuan Zhen looked at Murong Yu with a red face. He was extremely embarrassed. After all, he didn't have a high-grade saint artifact. However, he suddenly thought of something he possessed, so he immediately agreed. All right, a high-quality saint artifact. I'll fight you. However, for the sake of fairness, don't you also need a prize? Well, you're just a false saint. You don't need a high-grade saint artifact. You only need a mid-grade saint artifact. No problem. Murong Yu immediately agreed. Then he turned to look at Fang Ziwen. Why are you looking at me? Fang Ziwen had a bad feeling. Didn't you promise on my behalf? Of course, you'll have to pay for the saint artifact and whatnot. Don't worry, you won't lose, Murong Yu said indifferently. Fang Ziwen gnashed her teeth. She wanted nothing more than to send Murong Yu flying with a slap. Shameless, too shameless. The others also looked at Murong Yu with disdain, thinking that Murong Yu was really shameless. All right, I'll pay for him with a mid-grade saint artifact. Fang Ziwen gritted her teeth and reluctantly agreed. She only had one mid-grade saint artifact. It was the bow that killed the purple sky fox a few days ago. Perhaps someone would say that Fang Ziwen's father, Fang Tianhe, was the city lord of White Sun City. Wasn't a few mid-grade saint artifacts a piece of cake? It was true that Fang Tianhe was the city lord of White Sun City. However, White Sun City was a city of the 9 Holy Kingdom. Fang Tianhe was only receiving a salary from the 9 Holy Kingdom. If he used his full strength, even a force like the Blood Rain Mountain wouldn't dare to touch him. However, in terms of wealth, he was far inferior to the Li family. Even if he filled his own pockets, he wouldn't have too much wealth. Since it's so lively, It shouldn't be a problem for me to join in the fun, right? Li Diu walked up and looked at Murongyu with a smile. This kind of challenge was the best opportunity to kill someone. He had wanted to kill Murongyu for a long time. As long as you can afford a high-grade saint artifact, it won't be a problem. However, I will only fight with people of the same cultivation level, Murongyu said indifferently. He didn't refuse anyone. Okay, then do we fight now or after the auction? Li Diu couldn't wait to kill Murongyu. Fang Ziwen frowned slightly. After the auction. The auction is about to start. Okay, then we'll fight after the auction. Li Diu, I'm warning you. I started it first. You can't take it from me. Otherwise, don't blame me for being rude. Yuan Zhen glanced at Li Diu and turned to leave. Li Diu narrowed his eyes. A trace of killing intent flashed through his eyes. Remember to prepare a high-grade saint artifact. If I don't see one, I won't fight. Murongyu's voice spread far and wide. Then, he strode into the auction house with Fang Ziwen. The auction house was huge. There were over 1 million people inside. Furthermore, this was a large-scale auction held once every 10,000 years. By the time Murongyu and the others entered, the auction house was already packed with people. Murongyu frowned slightly. The environment was too noisy. He didn't like it. However, he knew that Fang Ziwen wouldn't be in the auction house. Let's go to the VIP room. As expected, Fang Ziwen led Murongyu and the others through a long corridor. Oh, isn't this the super beauty of White Sun City, Miss Fang Ziwen? As soon as they walked out of the corridor, a sweet and seductive voice sounded. A fragrant wind blew in their faces. Murongyu saw a beautiful woman in a tight red dress. She swayed her slim waist like a water snake and walked over to greet them. Her black hair flowed down her back like a waterfall. There was a faint smile on her face. As she walked, her breasts, which were only covered by 2 pieces of gauze, trembled slightly like waves. She was full of seduction. In addition to that, her exposed forearms were like congealed fat. Her entire body was filled with a charming seduction. Gulp! Gulp! At this moment, Murongyu could even hear Fang Ziwen's guards swallowing their saliva. He didn't need to look to know that the guards were staring at the woman walking over. Fang Ziwen's face revealed a guarded expression as she looked at the person walking over. She was slightly unhappy. It was obvious that the two of them didn't get along. That's right. The two of them were equally beautiful. Even if they weren't enemies, they wouldn't be good friends. After all, 2 tigers couldn't live on the same mountain. Humph. Still so flirtatious. Fang Ziwen snorted. And Ai Shang smiled faintly. Her gaze swept past Fang Ziwen's face and landed on Murongyu's face. This young master must be the top-quality servant of the city lord's mansion that everyone in White Sun City is talking about, right? Murongyu, let's go. Fang Ziwen obviously wasn't willing to stay with Ai Shang and wanted to leave quickly. Murongyu wanted to leave, but Ai Shang stepped to the side and blocked Murongyu's path. A fragrance wafted over and lingered in the air. Young Master Murong, I'm Ai Shang, the manager of the Blue Flame Auction House's White Sun City branch. Why don't you be my guard? Our auction house's resources are much more abundant than the city lord's mansion. Ai Shang's breath smelled like orchids as she smiled at Murongyu. This made Murongyu very depressed. Since when did he become so popular? Not only did men look for him, but even women of such a level were looking for him? However, Ai Shang was naturally different from Li Diu and the rest. Li Diu and the rest all saw Murongyu as a love rival. Li Diu even wanted to kill Murongyu. However, Murongyu wasn't afraid of such enemies on the surface. But this Ai Shang. Murongyu realized that he couldn't see through her at all. Even though they were so close, he couldn't read any of her thoughts. This woman's strength was beyond the great sage realm. A person of such a level took the initiative to look for him? It definitely wasn't anything good. Murongyu wasn't narcissistic enough to think that he really attracted this demon-like woman who he just met. Ai Shang, what do you mean? You dare to poach my man? Before Morong Yu could speak, Fong Ziwen was enraged. Young Mistress Fong, what do you mean by your man? Is he your man? I don't think so. You seem to be a virgin, right? If he's your man, I naturally won't poach him. And Ai Shang smiled, but her words were bold and explicit. Fong Ziwen's face instantly turned red. She didn't know if it was from anger or embarrassment. Morong Yu is my servant. Fong Ziwen was enraged. He's not your man. It doesn't matter whose servant he is. If you come to my place, I'll give you 10 times better treatment than the city lord residents. Morong Yu, what do you think? Consider it? And Ai Shang was going to snatch him from Fong Ziwen. Morong Yu didn't know what was going on, but the others knew what was going on. There were 2 great beauties in White Sun City, and they were naturally at loggerheads with each other. These 2 were born to be enemies. Not only did they compete in beauty, but they also competed in all aspects. Things like snatching people didn't happen rarely. Even Fong Ziwen's guards didn't find it strange. Fong Ziwen was instantly anxious. In terms of assets and resources, she really wasn't an Ai Shang's opponent. She immediately turned and looked at Morong Yu fiercely. Morong Yu, if you dare to betray the city lord residents, Fong Ziwen snorted coldly and was filled with a strong sense of threat. Being stared at by 2 great beauties, if it was an ordinary person, they would have already become complacent. However, Morong Yu's face was filled with black lines. The auction is about to start. Let's not waste time. Let's go to the auction. Morong Yu changed the topic. Don't change the topic. You must give us an answer today. Fong Ziwen and Ai Shang said in unison. Ask a question? Am I very handsome? Morong Yu looked at the 2 and suddenly asked a question that was out of the question. A little. So. The 2 women were startled at first, then they sized up Morong Yu a few times before replying. Then that's it. I'm not handsome. I don't know what you see in me? If you need me to warm your bed, then forgive me for not selling myself. With that, Morong Yu walked past the 2 women and walked towards the VIP room. Chapter 12:23. He is indeed a top-notch servant. Looking at Morong Yu's departing figure, Ai Shang's eyes flashed with a strange light, but her face was filled with a smile. Fong Ziwen, who was originally annoyed, smiled at this moment. If you don't mind, I can lend Morong Yu to you to warm your bed. Maybe something special will happen. And I think you guys are quite compatible. Ai Shang wasn't angry. She smiled and turned to look at Fong Ziwen. Is what you said true? Then what if I take Morong Yu away? Don't you dare. In some aspects, Fong Ziwen wasn't Ai Shang's opponent. After glaring angrily at Ai Shang, she quickly fled. At this moment, Morong Yu had already stopped. Because he didn't know which room Fong Ziwen was in. And he couldn't just barge into these VIP rooms. This was because the VIP rooms weren't only filled with powerful and influential people from White Sun City. There were also officials and nobles from other places. These people were very powerful and weren't people Morong Yu could provoke. Luckily, Morong Yu didn't have to wait for long before Fong Ziwen rushed over. Finally, they entered the VIP room in the middle. In a place like White Sun City, the city lord's residence was undoubtedly the most powerful. They had such treatment. And this time, the city lord of White Sun City, Fong Tianhe, didn't attend the auction. Therefore, this VIP room was naturally used by Fong Ziwen. The VIP room was luxuriously decorated. Other than the basic tables and chairs, there were all sorts of fruits and dessert. Morong Yu even found a few maids in the VIP room. Seeing these maids, Morong Yu couldn't help but glance at Fong Ziwen. It wasn't because these maids were too beautiful and could compete with Fong Ziwen. It was because he didn't find any maids by Fong Ziwen's side these few days. There were only a few guards. It was rare that young ladies didn't need maids to serve them these days. Fong Ziwen was probably one of them. As expected, after entering the VIP room, Fong Ziwen ordered the maids to leave. Fong Ziwen's other guards were loyal to their duties. After entering the VIP room, they stood around. However, Murong Yu didn't have the awareness of a guard or a servant. Instead, he sat down boldly, grabbed a piece of dessert, and stuffed it into his mouth. Seeing this, both Fong Ziwen and the guards' faces darkened. Was this guy really a servant? Sit, why are you looking at me? The auction is about to begin. Seeing Fong Ziwen looking at him with a dark face, Murong Yu didn't have any awareness. Instead, he acted like a host and asked Fong Ziwen to sit down. What fruit is that? It looks pretty. Bring it over for me. After Fong Ziwen sat down, Murong Yu ordered Fong Ziwen to bring over a strangely shaped fruit. Fong Ziwen's guards were speechless. Did this guy really worship me? Even the young miss of the city lord's mansion was being ordered around. What made their jaws drop to the ground was that Fong Ziwen didn't hesitate to hand over the strange fruit. It's over, it's over. The guards secretly wailed in their hearts. Could it be that the young miss has really fallen in love with this guy? This is the first time I've seen the young miss so docile. The taste isn't bad. Murong Yu took a bite of the fruit and praised at the same time. However, he didn't say a single word of thanks. Murong Yu, how dare you? Fong Ziwen suddenly shouted coldly. She angrily glared at Murong Yu. She seemed to have just reacted. Wasn't Murong Yu his bodyguard and retainer? How was it that he had become the master and she had become the maid? The auction is about to begin. Murong Yu looked at the VIP room and said, directly ignoring Fong Ziwen. This made Fong Ziwen very angry, but she couldn't vent her anger. If she cursed at Murong Yu, wouldn't she become a shrew? The VIP room faced the stage in front of the hall. Because it was specially set up, the people in the VIP room could see everything outside. However, the people outside couldn't see inside the VIP room. Even their divine sense couldn't enter. At this moment, on the high platform, a tall and sexy woman dressed in revealing clothes like a seductress walked out while swaying her slender waist. The moment this seductive woman appeared, there were waves of wolf howls in the hall. It's actually her? I didn't expect her to personally host the auction. Murong Yu's eyes flashed with surprise. At the same time, he couldn't help but whisper, "Humph, don't you men like this kind of coquettish woman the most? The beauty effect," Fong Ziwen said with some disdain. Because that woman was the manager of the Blue Flame Auction House's White Sun City branch, Enai Shang. Murong Yu nodded. For someone like Enai Shang, she definitely had a lot of suitors. As long as she stood on the stage and casually took out a trashy saint weapon, there would probably be people buying it at a high price. Hello everyone, I believe many of you know me. However, there are still many new friends here. Let me introduce myself. I'm Enai Shang, the manager of the auction house. Today's auction will be hosted by me. Before he could finish his sentence, howls could be heard coming from the hall. These guys are all lustful. Murong Yu felt some disdain in his heart. Although Enai Shang was a seductive woman and even made Murong Yu feel a little stunned. However, her beauty had no effect on him. Because none of the women in his family were inferior to her. Of course, none of them were as coquettish as she was. After a brief introduction of the rules of the auction officially began. The first item was only an ordinary low-grade saint weapon, but it was bought at a high price. In the Holy World, low-grade saint weapons were the most common saint weapons. However, not everyone had one. 1 million low-grade saint crystals could buy an ordinary low-grade saint weapon. However, the low-grade saint weapon in this auction house was sold at a high price of 5 million saint crystals. The temptation of a beautiful woman was obvious. After the low-grade saint weapon, there was a saint-grade saint pill and some heaven and earth treasures. Murong Yu only took a look at the beginning before he calmed his mind and went to cultivate in the Hichu Luoshu. The items being auctioned were of no use to him. The most important thing was that he didn't have the money to bid. Right now, He only had a little over 1,000 different grade Saint crystals and tens of thousands of low-grade Saint crystals. These Saint crystals were given to him by Feng Ziwen for cultivation. In this auction house that could easily sell for hundreds of thousands or millions of Saint crystals, Murong Yu's tens of thousands of Saint crystals were useless. As for Feng Ziwen, it seemed that there was nothing she liked in the auction house, so she didn't make a move. Someone in the other VIP rooms made a move. Next, we are going to auction a top-grade Saint weapon. After auctioning off an ordinary heaven and earth treasure, Anai Shang suddenly said something shocking. In an instant, everyone was shocked. Then, the hall and even the VIP rooms were in an uproar, because they didn't know that there was a top-grade Saint weapon being auctioned this time. A Saint weapon of this level almost didn't exist in White Sun City. After all, in the 4 great clans, high-grade Saint weapons were at the level of clan guarding treasures, let alone a top-grade Saint weapon. Miss Anai Shang, why didn't you inform us in advance that you were going to auction a top-grade Saint weapon? This is too hasty, we didn't make enough preparations. A loud voice came from a VIP room. Yes, Miss Anai Shang. Are you going to auction this treasure later? Allow us to prepare a little more. Everyone agreed one after another, because they all knew how precious a top-grade Saint weapon was. How much was a top-grade Saint weapon worth? The people of White Sun City didn't know the exact price. However, they also knew that even if they gathered all the assets of the 4 great clans, they might not be able to afford it. As a result, the local tyrants of White Sun City fell silent. They couldn't understand why the auction house would auction a Saint weapon of this level in a small place like theirs. Even if the value wasn't high and they were lucky enough to obtain it, it was definitely not a good thing. On the contrary, it was more likely that their clans would be exterminated because of this top-grade Saint weapon. This kind of killing and snatching of treasures happened every day. Treasures aroused the envy of others. Everyone in White Sun City fell silent, and those who didn't were the outsiders. Those who spoke just now weren't natives of White Sun City, but guests from other places. Everyone, calm down. Anai Shang's pleasant voice came from afar when she saw that those people were anxious. Instantly, the entire auction house quietened down. As she spoke, a guard of the auction house walked up with a small black bell that didn't look impressive. This is that top-grade Saint weapon? When they saw this small black bell, someone in the auction house couldn't help but snicker. As long as it was a Saint artifact, it would emit a slight fluctuation. The higher the grade, the more powerful the fluctuation. For a top-grade Saint weapon, even if it was just an invisible fluctuation, it wasn't something that an ordinary Saint could get close to. However, the fluctuation emitted by the small bell in the guard's hand wasn't even comparable to an ordinary low-grade Saint weapon. Anai Shang's face couldn't help but turn red when she heard everyone snicker. She had no choice. This Saint weapon didn't belong to the Blue Flame auction house but to a guest, so she had to auction it. The Saint weapon is called the Astral Wind Secret Light Bell. After the confirmation of our auction house's appraiser, it's indeed a top-grade Saint weapon. However, it's a sealed Saint weapon. However, our auction house can't undo the seal on it. As soon as Anai Shang said that, the entire auction house was in an uproar. The Blue Flame auction house was one of the top auction houses in the Holy World. They were all over the human race, the demon race, and the sacred race. They had countless experts, but even they couldn't undo the seal on a top-grade Saint weapon? Wasn't it just a top-grade Saint weapon? Was his seal really that powerful? Or was it not a top-grade Saint weapon but a peerless or even a Saint weapon? If it was a Saint-grade sacred artifact, some people became excited. Chapter 12:24. Thinking that it might be a Saint-grade Saint artifact, some people were excited, but many people remained calm. If even Blue Flame Auction House couldn't break the seal, even if it was really a Saint-grade Saint artifact, it would be useless even if it was given to them. If one of the top auction houses in the Holy World couldn't do it, could they? and if they couldn't break the seal, no matter how powerful they would only be a pile of scrap metal. Therefore, before Shang finished speaking, the entire auction house's enthusiasm had already dissipated. What was left was some roaring laughter. Miss Shang, I'll buy your supreme-grade saint artifact for 1 low-grade saint crystal. Laughter spread out. I'll give Miss Shang some face and bid for it with 10 low-grade saint crystals. 100 will do. Everyone roared with laughter, and Shang also looked embarrassed. No matter how extravagant she was, she couldn't hide the fact that this so-called supreme-grade saint artifact was just a pile of scrap metal. If the seal can be broken, then the power of a supreme-grade saint artifact will be restored. The starting price is 100,000 low-grade saint crystals. Hiss, that was the sound of a gasp. 100,000 low-grade saint crystals for this pile of scrap metal? Was this a joke? For a moment, everyone fell silent. Then they reacted, but no one shouted a price. They just roared with laughter. Young master, you want to bid for this saint artifact. Murong Yu originally only took a glance at that astral wind secret light bell. All he did was take a look at it. Because he didn't have the money to bid, he continued to cultivate. However, Hichu's voice appeared in his mind. Bid for that pile of scrap metal? Murong Yu asked in surprise. Could Hichu be able to break the seal of that saint artifact? If that was the case, then he would have profited. Scrap metal? Even if I can't break the seal, it will be greatly beneficial to you. It contains an extremely large amount of power, Hichu explained. Although he didn't know what benefits the large amount of power would bring him. Murong Yu decided to bid for this so-called supreme-grade saint artifact in the end. But before that, he needed to borrow money from Fang Ziwen. Young Lady Fang, please lend me 200,000 low-rank saint crystals. Murong Yu opened his eyes again and said to Fang Ziwen. Fang Ziwen looked at Murong Yu in surprise. You want to auction this top-grade saint artifact? Murong Yu didn't reply, neither agreeing nor disagreeing. Fang Ziwen rolled her eyes. Let's not talk about whether or not this saint artifact is a top-grade saint artifact. Even if it is, you can't undo the seal. Using 100,000 saint crystals to buy a pile of scrap iron is too wasteful. Just lend me some saint crystals. Are you going to lend me some or not? Murong Yu rolled his eyes. It will be deducted from your salary. Fang Ziwen didn't understand why Murong Yu insisted on bidding for this piece of scrap metal, but she still threw out 200,000 low-rank saint crystals to Murong Yu. Murong Yu directly took it and didn't thank her. He just looked at the auction house outside. The high price of 100,000 low-rank saint crystals for a pile of scrap metal instantly made the whole auction house go silent. Even though Shang was like a vixen, trying her best, no one called out a price. Even if she had many suitors, 100,000 low-rank saint crystals was still a huge sum for them. After all, White Sun City was just a small place. These playboys usually spent money like water. How could they have so much extra money? I'll call out one more time. If it still can't be sold, then it can only be passed, Shang thought gloomily. This was the first time an item had been passed since she was in charge of the auction. But no matter what she said, no one would buy it. Young Lady Shang, your Blue Flame auction house said that this saint artifact was sealed and not damaged? Just as Shang was about to announce that this saint artifact was passed, a faint voice came from the VIP room. Hearing this, everyone was stunned. Yes, what if this was just a damaged saint artifact? Before this, they had never thought that this was a damaged saint artifact. Because they all chose to believe in the Blue Flame auction house. We all know the strength of the Blue Flame auction house. If it's really a seal, I don't believe that you can't remove the seal. If that is the case, there is only one possibility. This sacred artifact is a damaged or destroyed sacred artifact. It is simply worthless. The voice rang out again, and Shang was also stunned. She also didn't suspect that this was a damaged saint artifact. And Shang's smile stiffened, and she looked at the VIP room awkwardly. She already recognized who the voice belonged to, the top-notch servant Murongyu. It was Murongyu who spoke just now. In the VIP room, Fang Ziwen smiled when she felt Aishang's murderous gaze. She didn't know if it was because of Murongyu's action or because of Aishang's awkward look. A pile of scrap metal actually dares to sell for 100,000 low-rank Saint crystals. That's crazy. Everyone in the auction house's hall was discussing. They were all saying that the auction house had gone crazy for money. However, Murongyu spoke again at this time. Although this is just a pile of scrap metal, since Miss Aishang is hosting it, I believe that everyone doesn't want this saint artifact to go unsold. So, if it's 10,000 low-rank saint crystals, I'll bid for it. Hua, hearing this, the people in the auction house burst into laughter. It was the first time they met someone who could actually bargain for an item that was being auctioned. While laughing, they looked at Aishang, wondering how she would deal with it. Aishang smiled when she heard Murongyu's words. Since that's the case, the starting price of this top-grade saint artifact will be lowered to 10,000 low-rank saint crystals. This is a top-grade saint artifact. Who else wants to bid for it? It actually lowered the price? Everyone was surprised. However, no one made a bid. A top-grade saint artifact of 10,000 low-rank saint crystals. Is there no one else who wants to bid? Aishang tried to persuade everyone to bid. However, no one bid. Even if it was only 1,000 low-rank saint crystals. This made Murongyu very surprised. Why didn't Aishang's suitors take the opportunity to bid to win Aishang's favor? In the end, Murongyu won this so-called top-grade saint crystal for 10,000 low-rank saint crystals. Soon, this saint artifact was delivered to Murongyu. After paying 10,000 low-rank saint crystals, this so-called top-grade saint artifact belonged to Murongyu. Without waiting for Fang Ziwen to speak, Murongyu directly kept this saint artifact in the Hichu Luoshu world. During this process, he even heard Hichu heave a sigh of relief. Could this really be a saint-grade saint artifact? Murongyu couldn't help but be curious. While he too heaved a sigh of relief, Aishang, who was hosting the next auction item, also heaved a sigh of relief. This so-called saint artifact was requested by a guest. The starting price was 100,000 low-rank saint crystals. The reason why she lowered the price was that she didn't want to have an item that didn't get sold. Because as a good auctioneer, it was impossible for there to be an item that didn't get sold. Once there was an item that didn't get sold, it would be an unerasable stain in an auctioneer's career. As for the customer service's loss, she would use her own private money to pay for it after the auction. As for Murongyu, who had auctioned it off, she was secretly grateful to him. Although he lowered the price, at least she wouldn't lose the item. Next, the auction continued. Meanwhile, in the VIP lounge, Fang Ziwen looked at Murongyu with some displeasure. Stingy brat! Murongyu closed his eyes and couldn't be bothered with Fang Ziwen. The large-scale auction that was held once every 10,000 years had a lot of items being auctioned. After the initial warm-up, the auction house gradually went crazy. At this moment, Murongyu finally understood why no one fought with him for that saint artifact. It was because those rich kids had kept their saint crystals for now. With the help of those idiots, the auction items were sold at a high price one by one. There were some rare treasures among them. However, there weren't any items on the level of a supreme saint artifact. It wasn't that the Blue Flame auction house didn't have such a saint artifact, but it wouldn't be auctioned in a small place like White Sun City. Next, we're going to auction a cultivation technique, an incomplete cultivation technique. It's said that this cultivation technique can only be cultivated by a person whose soul has become a saint. While Aishang was speaking, a maid had already walked onto the auction stage with a paper book on a tray. However, that book was obviously incomplete because there were only a few pages. Hearing Aishang's words, Murongyu, who was cultivating with his eyes closed, suddenly opened his eyes and looked at the auction stage below. Finally, he looked at the few pages of the book. Fang Ziwen immediately noticed this scene. However, she was secretly observing Morongyu without batting an eyelid. Morongyu extended his divine thought over immediately. During this process, he encountered many people's divine thought. These people had the same goal as him, which was to see if the book was real. However, to their disappointment, there was a restriction on the book's surface. It prevented their divine thought from entering. Moreover, they couldn't see the contents of the book at all. They couldn't verify its authenticity. In fact, even if they saw it, they wouldn't know if it was real or fake. Because there were too few people whose soul had become a saint, it was almost a legendary existence. I guarantee on the reputation of the Blue Flame Auction House that this is indeed a cultivation technique for a person whose soul has become a saint in one step. However, there are only a few pages and they're incomplete, and Aishang said again. Hichu, why are they auctioning these pages of the cultivation technique? If it's really a soul cultivation technique, wouldn't they keep it for their own use? Morongyu was puzzled and communicated with Hichu. I'm sure they already have a backup. Moreover, it might just be a bait to lure out the person whose soul has become a saint, Hichu analyzed. Morongyu frowned. If that's the case, doesn't that mean we can't bid for it? Morongyu was a little depressed. Even if it was just a little bit of that cultivation technique, he could find the trick to cultivating it. Seeing that he couldn't bid for it indeed made him depressed. However, he calmed down after thinking that he didn't have the ability to bid for it. Chapter 12:25. If he didn't have the money to bid, even if he had the money, he couldn't bid. Otherwise, who knew what kind of trouble he would encounter? Thus, Morongyu's excited heart quickly calmed down. Seeing Morongyu calming down so quickly, Fang Ziwen, who was standing beside him, was a little surprised. This was because she had already caught Morongyu's agitated state at the beginning. At that time, she was vaguely sure that Morongyu's soul had become a saint. But now, she wasn't sure. This guy isn't interested? Fang Ziwen was a bit surprised. Is it because he doesn't have the money? Yes, where does he have the money? He definitely can't afford to bid for it. Thinking of this, Fang Ziwen suddenly laughed. Morongyu, you're not interested in the soul cultivation method? If you want, I can lend you the money to bid for it. Morongyu indifferently glanced at Fang Ziwen and faintly smiled. My soul isn't a saint. What do I need these things for? Besides, even if my soul is a saint, it's useless. Who knows what's on those pages? Don't lose more than you gain. Who said that a person with a saint body can't also have a saint soul? Perhaps your soul can become a saint? Then you'll be powerful. Fang Ziwen said in a very tempting manner. Morongyu wasn't moved and indifferently looked at Fang Ziwen. I say, young Miss Fang, why are you so good to me? If you want it, you can bid for it. When the time comes, I can borrow your light to see how to cultivate the soul. After pausing, he continued, sometimes I really wonder if you've fallen in love with me. Otherwise, why are you so good to me? Hearing this, Fang Ziwen was speechless. She only felt that Morongyu was too narcissistic and infuriating. I'm not interested in this soul cultivation method. After the auction, I still have to accept challenges. If there's nothing important, don't disturb me. While speaking, Morongyu closed his eyes again. Fang Ziwen was about to die from anger. How could there be such an arrogant guard? Fang Ziwen's guards were even more speechless. If it were them, they would have probably been chased out long ago, right? Morongyu couldn't even deal with Fang Ziwen. Different people have different fates. Morongyu wasn't interested in these few pages of soul cultivation techniques, but there were many people who were interested in them. In the end, it was auctioned off for a sky-high price. It was directly traded with a saint bloodline. Such a price left the various forces in White Sun City speechless. That was because the value of those few pages was something that even the entire White Sun City could not afford. That incomplete cultivation method was bought by an external force. After this craze, there were no more treasures of this level. However, there was no lack of rare items. One item after another was sold at a high price. During this process, Fang Ziwen also bid several times and won several items. The auction lasted for an entire day before it finally ended. By the time Murong Yu woke up from his cultivation, the auction had already ended and the people in the hall had almost all left. However, when Murong Yu appeared at the entrance of the auction house, Li Diyu and the others were already waiting for him. Everyone, could it be that you can't wait to give me a high-grade saint artifact? When he saw Li Diyu and the others, Murong Yu revealed a brilliant smile and an incomparably relaxed expression. It was as if he didn't care about Li Diyu and the others at all. In fact, he only treated them as gift-givers. Enough nonsense. Leave the city immediately. Li Diyu stepped forward, his eyes filled with disdain as he looked at Murong Yu. In his eyes, Murong Yu was already a dead man. He would never allow a dead man to continue standing in front of him. Li Diyu, everything is first come, first serve. Why don't you and I fight first? Yuan Zhen took a few steps forward unhappily and looked at Li Diyu with an unfriendly expression. Murong Yu looked impatient. All right, cut the crap. I want to see the high-grade saint artifact in your hands. Otherwise, you can go back to where you came from. Well said. Li Diyu smiled faintly and grabbed at the air. The next moment, a mirror emitting a faint light appeared in his hand. 100 refined dim light mirror, high-grade saint artifact, Li Diyu said proudly. He had obtained this high-grade saint artifact by accident. Its power was extremely terrifying, and it was his personal saint artifact. This is a high-grade saint artifact? The aura it emits is not even comparable to a mid-grade saint artifact. Li Diyu, don't joke around. Before Murong Yu could speak, Yuan Zhen, who was opposite Li Diyu, sneered. Idiot, what do you know? The aura of the 100 refined dim light mirror is not strong. It's not even powerful. However, it has a special function. It's a soul saint artifact. If you don't believe me, you can come and try it. Li Diyu looked at Yuan Zhen as if he was looking at a bumpkin. His face was full of mockery. As he spoke, Li Diyu injected a trace of energy into the 100 refined dim light mirror. Suddenly, the faint light from the mirror began to emit. At this moment, everyone's soul could not help but tremble. A dangerous aura shrouded their hearts. Everyone's heart trembled, and a look of surprise flashed across their eyes. Although the dangerous aura only lasted for a moment, the 100 refined dim light mirror was indeed a soul saint artifact. It was a saint artifact that specialized in attacking souls. Although he didn't know exactly how powerful it was, even if it wasn't that powerful, it was still extremely precious. After all, if this saint artifact was used in battle, it would immediately affect the enemy's soul. Even if it was only for a moment, it was enough to turn the tide of the battle. Seeing everyone's expression, Li Diyu was very pleased. A bright smile appeared on his face. At the same time, he glanced at Yuan Zhen with a look of disdain. Yuan Zhen was in a bad mood. He flipped his hand, and in the next moment, an embroidery needle appeared in his hand. Ha ha ha! When they saw the embroidery needle, everyone present could not help but burst into laughter. The ones who laughed the loudest were Li Diyu, Zhou Xiuzhu, and Wu Guangda. Even Fang Ziwen could not help but chuckle. Yuan Zhen's old face turned red. A grown man like him holding an embroidery needle, it really made him feel embarrassed. However, this was not an embroidery needle, but a high-grade saint artifact. Yuan Zhen, when did you change your gender? Are you preparing to embroider? The one who spoke was not Li Diyu, but Yuan Zhen's sworn enemy, Zhou Xiuzhu. At this moment, Zhou Xiuzhu was laughing so hard that his face was red. A bunch of bumpkins. It's not wrong to say that you are ignorant. Is this an embroidery needle? Let me tell you, this needle is called the Dragonbone Flame Needle. It was refined from the bones of a dragon. As he spoke, Yuan Zhen poured his energy into the dragonbone flame needle. Bang! The dragonbone flame needle instantly grew, like a pillar supporting the heavens. Its whole body emitted green flames. An incomparably vast draconic might seeped out of its body and swept out in all directions like a flood. At this moment, everyone felt as if their souls were being pierced by millions of needles. The dragonbone flame needle is specialized in targeting the soul. It is much stronger than your 100 refined dim light mirror. However, it has a flaw. After saying this, Yuan Zhen's expression became somewhat awkward. What flaw? Murong Yu narrowed his eyes and asked. The dragonbone flame needle requires a huge amount of energy to activate. Even a 9th-step great sage can only activate the dragonbone flame needle for 2 breaths of time. Murong Yu looked at Yuan Zhen with a surprised expression. Was this guy an honest person? Or an idiot? Didn't he just expose the flaw of the dragonbone flame needle? In the future, when he used the dragonbone flame needle, others would be prepared. If he wasn't an idiot, then he must have other powerful sacred weapons on him. The so-called 4 princes are not simple, Murong Yu muttered to himself. All right, since both of us have high-grade sacred weapons, shouldn't we begin? Li Diu said impatiently, looking at Murong Yu with eyes full of killing intent. Not yet, Murong Yu said in a low voice. Little bastard, are you going back on your word? Li Diu's face darkened, and his killing intent surged. If Murong Yu went back on his word, he'd definitely kill him on the spot. Murong Yu looked at Li Diu with disdain. Why are you in such a hurry to give me a sacred weapon? However, I don't believe you. Therefore, I want a notary, so that you won't go back on your word when you lose. I will lose? You little bastard can defeat me. Li Diu was so angry that his lungs were about to explode. He was completely infuriated by Murong Yu. Murong Yu was too lazy to pay attention to him. Instead, he turned to look at Feng Ziwen. I wonder if the city lord can be the notary? I really don't trust this guy's character. Feng Ziwen nodded. I also don't trust him. I will immediately contact my father. Hearing Feng Ziwen's words, Li Diu, who was already furious, almost coughed up blood. Yuan Zhen and the others were secretly laughing in their hearts. The more Feng Ziwen acted like this, the less of a threat Li Diu was to them. No need. I will be your notary. Just as Feng Ziwen was about to contact Feng Tianhe, a voice sounded in everyone's ears. However, the person didn't appear. All right, the city lord has also appeared. Little bastard, what else do you have to say? If you don't have any last words, then hurry up and come out to die. As he spoke, Li Diu had already soared into the sky, flying out of the city. Murong Yu smiled faintly and also soared into the sky. I have never seen someone who thought it was too slow to give away a treasure. You have broadened my horizons. Little bastard, if I don't kill you, I swear I am not human. Li Diu gnashed his teeth, and his entire body was filled with killing intent. He even had the urge to immediately kill Murong Yu. Chapter 12:26. Outside White Sun City, countless people had gathered together. In front of the crowd, 3 young men were facing each other with intense battle intent and killing intent. The 3 of them were Murong Yu, Yuan Zhen, and Li Diu. Among them, Yuan Zhen and Murong Yu only had monstrous battle intent. Li Diu, on the other hand, was filled with murderous intent. He wanted to kill Murong Yu. At this moment, Yuan Zhen and Li Diu were still arguing about who should go first. Murong Yu, who was not far from them, finally lost his patience. Both of you, come at me together. Both of you? Upon hearing Murong Yu's words, the surrounding crowd was instantly shocked. They all looked at Murong Yu in surprise as if they were looking at an idiot. Did Murong Yu really have the strength, or was he just ignorant and arrogant? This was the thought in everyone's mind. However, unlike the shocked crowd, Yuan Zhen and Li Diu, who were both involved, were instantly furious. This was because Murong Yu was clearly looking down on them. This was an insult to them. Li Diu, I know you want to kill him. However, if you kill him, I can't continue. Therefore, I have to make the first move. After I defeat him, he can still fight with you, Yuan Zhen suddenly said to Li Diu through voice transmission. To Yuan Zhen, Morong Yu was just a stranger. His life and death had nothing to do with him. He only wanted to defeat Morong Yu fair and square. Although it was a little embarrassing for him, a great saint, to deal with a false saint. However, since he had already lost face, he could only continue. Alright. Then let that little bastard live a little longer. Li Diu thought for a moment and finally agreed. After all, if they continued to argue like this, who knew when they would reach a conclusion? As for both of them attacking at the same time? That was impossible. It would be an insult to them. Morong Yu, you're too arrogant. I, Yuan Zhen, will teach you a lesson first. Yuan Zhen roared and stepped forward. During this process, the aura on his body rapidly weakened. It was obvious that he had already sealed his realm. Wait a moment! Morong Yu suddenly shouted. Then, while Yuan Zhen frowned slightly, Morong Yu bowed slightly in the direction of White Sun City and said loudly, City Lord, please make a move to seal Feng Yun and Li Diu's realms. I really don't trust them. Hearing this, Yuan Zhen and Li Diu were so angry that smoke almost came out of their noses. Could it be that this little bastard still thought that they were no match for him even if they sealed their realms? Did he need to use the strength of a great saint? However, it was one thing to be fuming Feng. However, they did not act. After all, Feng Yun's realm sighed. Before Morong Yu could finish his sentence, a wave of energy shot out from White Sun City and landed on Yuan Zhen and Li Diu. Suddenly, their realms were sealed to the false sacred realm by Feng Tianhe. In this way, even someone of the same realm as Feng Tianhe would not be able to remove the seal on them in a short time. In other words, they could fight Morong Yu with the strength of a false saint. Who do you think will win? The onlookers discussed animatedly. Do you still need to ask? It must be Yuan Zhen and Li Diu. Even if they sealed their realms, they're still great saints. They're much stronger than false saints. I feel that Morong Yu might be able to win. Otherwise, how would he dare to accept the challenge? Shu, you don't know, do you? He was forced to accept it. Because it was Miss Feng who had accepted it for him. I see. Then Morong Yu will definitely lose. At first, some people thought that Morong Yu would win. However, after a while, no one thought that he would win. Perhaps only Feng Ziwen, who believed that Morong Yu's soul sage, thought that Morong Yu would win. I'm coming. Yuan Zhen roared and took a step forward. His body suddenly soared into the air and turned into a stream of light, pouncing toward Morong Yu. During this process, his divine fist was invincible. His fist rapidly shot out, locked onto Morong Yu's head, and went for the kill. Good timing. I want to see what you can do after you've sealed your realm. Morong Yu also roared. He took a step forward and also pounced toward Yuan Zhen. Their realms and physical bodies were the same. Morong Yu did not touch anyone at all. Therefore, the two of them chose to fight hand-to-hand from the beginning. Bang! Bang! In the void, the two fists violently collided. An earth-shattering sound erupted. A terrifying shockwave formed in an instant and then swept out in all directions. The air was torn apart and crushed. As for Morong Yu and Li Wuyo, they were sent flying by the terrifying impact. After a single strike, the two of them were evenly matched. Boom! 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 There were no magic treasures or sacred weapons clashing. There was also no violent impact. The collision between the two of them was purely a physical collision. Thus, the onlookers saw this scene. The two of them kept fighting in close combat, punches and palms constantly bombarding each other's bodies. Then, they were constantly sent flying by each other. However, when they stabilized their bodies, they pounced on each other again. There was no fighting style. It was like a fight between villagers. Barbarians. Zhou Xiu Zhu frowned slightly and said with some disdain. This kid is indeed a country bumpkin. He doesn't have any moves, not to mention his rich combat experience. Yuan Zhen is also an idiot. If it were me, I would have already executed a combat technique to kill him. Li Diu's face was filled with disdain as he watched the exchange between Morong Yu and Yuan Zhen. Little did he know that Yuan Zhen was not Li Diu. This was because he felt that he had an unfair advantage. Moreover, Morong Yu wanted to fight hand-to-hand from the beginning. He wanted to determine the winner with his physical body. Yuan Zhen could only accompany him. He wanted to defeat Morong Yu with his physical body. Only then would it be fair. However, he did not know that he had fallen into Morong Yu's trap. If it were a life-and-death battle or some other occasion, Morong Yu would definitely use all his means. He would use all his combat skills, souls, sacred weapons, and the like in order to kill his opponent. However, Yuan Zhen was not his enemy. This was because he did not feel any killing intent from Yuan Zhen. Moreover, he was not willing to reveal his true strength. Bang! Bang! Morong Yu's fist landed directly on Yuan Zhen's chest. The enormous force behind the punch caused a ghastly wound to appear on his chest, causing blood to spurt out. While Yuan Zhen was sent flying, his leg lashed out at Morong Yu's waist. A huge force erupted and almost cut Morong Yu in half. Although Morong Yu was not cut in half, his waist was still crushed by the impact. His clothes were torn to shreds. Looking from afar, Morong Yu and Yuan Zhen's clothes were torn to shreds. Their bodies were covered with ghastly wounds that were so deep that their bones could be seen. They looked like they were made of blood. In the beginning, after the wounds appeared on their bodies, they were quickly healed. However, after half a day, more and more wounds appeared on their bodies. This was because they did not have much energy left to heal their wounds. Of course, this could be an act by both parties. Morong Yu did not know what was going on with Yuan Zhen. However, he was sure that the latter was faking it. A battle of this intensity was no threat to him. The power in his body was still enormous. He had not consumed any of it. Moreover, the wounds on his body could be healed with the power of life if he wanted to. However, he could not use the power of life to heal them, because that appearance was simply too shocking. Yuan Zhen, I told you that you are no match for me. Morong Yu laughed and charged forward again. Yuan Zhen's eyes flashed with a cold light. He was shocked by Morong Yu's tenacity. Even if it was just a physical fight, it would still consume a lot of energy. Previously, he had used up most of his energy to heal his wounds. After his cultivation level was sealed, the amount of energy he recovered was not proportional to the amount of energy he consumed. His energy was being consumed quickly. He had already used up more than half of it. However, looking at Morong Yu, although he did not seem to have much energy left, his breathing was long and drawn out. What the hell? Could it be that his soul is not a sage? Fang Ziwen, who was watching the battle from the side, was a little depressed. This was because Morong Yu had already gained the upper hand and was forcing Yuan Zhen to retreat. Yuan Zhen was very depressed. He was no match for Morong Yu in terms of physical strength. He was a great sage, but he was no match for a false sage. How could he endure this? Of course, he believed that he could defeat Morong Yu as long as he took out his sacred weapon and used all kinds of combat skills. However, that was not his style. He had already lost. Stop, I admit defeat. Finally, he was sent flying by Morong Yu's punch again. He immediately shouted to stop and admitted defeat. Are you kidding me? Yuan Zhen actually admitted defeat? He didn't even use any combat skills. Seeing Yuan Zhen admit defeat, the onlookers were very surprised. They did not understand why Yuan Zhen wanted to outnumber him. However, some people nodded inwardly. Yuan Zhen was a straightforward and upright person. He was not afraid of losing or losing face. He was brave enough to admit the truth. Most importantly, he did not want to take advantage of Morong Yu. Why? This was Morong Yu's question to Yuan Zhen. I am a great sage, and you are only a false sage. If you can defeat me in terms of physical strength, then I will admit defeat." Pausing for a moment, Yuan Zhen sized up Murong Yu before continuing, "If I'm not mistaken, your injuries aren't as serious as they seem. If we continue fighting, I'll lose even more miserably." He was able to let go of his losses. At this moment, Murong Yu suddenly liked this Yuan Zhen a little. "Murong Yu, you are a good person. If you can survive Li Diyu's attack, I will definitely make friends with you." Yuan Zhen laughed, then turned around and left. However, he only took one step before stopping again. "By the way, this flaming dragon bone needle is yours." As he spoke, he threw the high-grade sacred weapon, the flaming dragon bone needle, to Murong Yu. However, the moment he let go, Murong Yu saw the muscles on his face twitching. Clearly, he was in great pain. Chapter 12:27. Yuan Zhen had lost to Murong Yu, a false saint just like that. He'd even lost a high-grade saint artifact. Everyone was shocked, but at the same time they also admired Yuan Zhen. After all, he'd admitted defeat of his own accord. Moreover, everyone had heard what he'd said to Murong Yu clearly. Yuan Zhen was a real man. Everyone had the same thought in their minds. Even Zhou Xiuzhu, Wu Guangde, and the others viewed Yuan Zhen in a new light. Putting themselves in his shoes, if they'd been in his shoes, would they have been as magnanimous as Yuan Zhen? No one knew. Li Diyu sneered in his heart. If it had been him, he wouldn't have cared whether it was fair or not. He'd kill Murong Yu first. Thus, when Li Diyu returned, he slowly stepped forward and approached Murong Yu. He actually planned to make a move now. Wait! It wasn't Murong Yu who'd shouted, but Fang Ziwen. At that moment, Fang Ziwen also stepped forward and looked at Li Diyu with disdain. "You want to make a move now? Shouldn't it be my turn after Yuan Zhen?" Li Diyu looked at Fang Ziwen with some surprise, his face full of confusion. Fang Ziwen was furious. This Li Diyu was really too shameless. He clearly knew what Fang Ziwen meant. "You have the nerve to make a move now? Don't you see that he's seriously injured? You're a great saint, can you be any more shameless?" A cold, killing intent flashed through the depths of Li Diyu's eyes. However, he pretended to be enlightened. Look at me. I'm actually so muddle-headed. I didn't even consider that Murong Yu was seriously injured. How about this? I'll give you enough time to heal, so you won't say that I'm unfair." Shameless! Hearing Li Diyu's words, the onlookers despised him in their hearts. They could all see that Murong Yu was seriously injured. Li Diyu wasn't blind, so it was impossible for him not to see it. He just wanted to take the opportunity to kill Murong Yu. Or rather, after seeing Yuan Zhen defeated, he was afraid that Yuan Zhen was no match for Murong Yu. Therefore, he took advantage of the fact that he was still heavily injured to quickly kill him. Fang Ziwen walked in front of Murong Yu and threw out 2 bottles of pills. "Swallow these pills. They can help you quickly recover your strength and body." Murong Yu wasn't polite either. After receiving the pills, he directly poured them into his mouth. Although he didn't need to eat these pills. However, if he used the power of life to heal his injuries, it would arouse the suspicions of many people. The power of the medicinal pill was very fierce. After swallowing it, the injuries on Murong Yu's body were quickly healed. His strength was also rapidly increasing. However, Murong Yu originally did not consume much energy, but the power of these pills made him feel like he had eaten too much. "Murong Yu, don't you have other combat skills? Why not use it? Don't hold back later. Yuan Zhen doesn't want to kill you, but Li Diyu will definitely try to kill you. If you don't use your full strength, you won't be able to escape from Li Diyu's evil hands." While Murong Yu was healing, Fang Ziwen's voice sounded in Murong Yu's ears. Murong Yu opened his eyes and looked at Fang Ziwen with surprise. "I'm just a false saint. What other combat skills could I have?" Fang Ziwen rolled her eyes and almost blurted out, "Didn't your soul become a saint?" However, she didn't say it out loud. Instead, she glared at Morong Yu and said with a murderous look, "Don't try to trick me. I don't believe that you don't have other combat skills. Moreover, if you only relied on your previous skills, how could you have killed the purple sky raccoon? I say, young Miss Fong, are you mistaken? You clearly killed the purple sky raccoon with a single arrow. What does that have to do with me?" Morong Yu had an innocent expression. He would never admit that his soul had become a saint. Otherwise, once he was exposed, he would immediately become a hot commodity. When that time came, he would be captured by those super experts and studied. "Since that's the case, don't blame me when you die," Fong Ziwen said fiercely and angrily turned to leave. "Don't worry, I'll definitely defeat Li Diu." As she left, Morong Yu's confident voice sounded in her ears. Fong Ziwen was delighted. Could it be that he's preparing to use a soul attack? As a result, her anger disappeared. She walked back the way she came with a face full of smiles. After Fong Ziwen left, Morong Yu stood up from the ground and looked at Li Diu. "Li Diu, come out and give me your treasures." Fong Ziwen's pills weren't ordinary pills. This little bit of time was enough for him to recover to his peak state. Li Diu laughed nastily and his body flickered as he turned into a streak of light and charged towards Morong Yu. "I wonder how Morong Yu will fight? Is he going to fight Li Diu? Li Diu isn't Yuan Zhen. If he continues like this, he'll definitely die." Everyone's eyes were focused on Morong Yu. They all felt Li Diu's killing intent towards Morong Yu. Under their gazes, Morong Yu still stood in place without moving. At that moment, Li Diu was already not far in front of him. "Little bastard, prepare to die." Li Diu laughed nastily and shouted. His invincible divine fist fiercely smashed towards Morong Yu's head. He wanted to kill Morong Yu with one punch. However, Morong Yu still didn't move, as if he was scared silly. What's going on? Has Morong Yu really been scared out of his wits? Doubt filled everyone's hearts. Each and every one of them stared at Morong Yu without blinking. Li Diu's attack had already arrived in front of Morong Yu as a gust of wind blew against his face. Li Diu's fist would be able to smash Morong Yu's head in the blink of an eye. Judging from the terrifying aura, Morong Yu's head was very likely to be blown apart. "You're no match for me." At that moment, Morong Yu suddenly roared. Hearing Morong Yu's words, everyone couldn't help but stagger. Why was he still talking nonsense at a time like this? However, in the next moment, they understood why Morong Yu had said that and why he hadn't made a move yet. As Morong Yu spoke, the high-grade Saint artifact Bone Dragon Flaming Needle that he'd won from Yuan Zhen soared into the sky. It expanded with the wind and instantly became a pillar that supported the heavens. Streaks of flames were like sacred flames descending from the heavens. They surged towards Li Diu like raging waves, drowning him. He had brought out the Bone Dragon Flaming Needle. The moment the Bone Dragon Flaming Needle was brought out, everyone present felt as if their souls were being pierced by millions of needles. For a moment, countless people's miserable cries rose and fell, spreading far and wide. At the same time, they quickly retreated. If the onlookers were already in such a state, what more Li Diu? Li Diu felt as if his soul was being torn apart. He was in incomparable pain. At that moment, his vision even darkened. There was only one feeling in his entire body: pain. It was a tearing pain. Li Diu knew that things were not good. He knew that Morong Yu had activated the Bone Dragon Flaming Needle's soul-attacking ability. He wanted to counterattack, but the pain in his soul made him lose his sense of direction. He couldn't help but panic. Just as Li Diu was panicking, Morong Yu's roar rang in his ears. "I already said that you're no match for me." At the same time, Li Diu felt as if his body was being crushed by a sacred mountain. He felt as if his body was about to shatter. Although Li Diu didn't know what was going on, he knew that Morong Yu had closed in on him and killed him. Li Diu was instantly dumbfounded. Meanwhile, the onlookers in the distance clearly saw Morong Yu pick up the bone dragon flaming needle and bombard Li Diyu's body with it. In less than a few breaths' time, Li Diyu's body was smashed into a bloody mess. During this process, Li Diyu didn't even have the strength to counterattack. A soul-attacking ability is actually so terrifying? The power of the dragon bone flaming needle is actually this terrifying? Everyone stared at the scene before them in shock. Even Yuan Zhen was dumbfounded. He didn't realize that the bone dragon flaming needle was actually so powerful. That was because he had never used it against an enemy before. However, the more powerful the bone dragon flaming needle was, the more displeased he was. That was because he had already given the sacred artifact away. Bang! 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 Morong Yu picked up the bone dragon flaming needle and used it as an iron rod to bombard Li Diyu's body. Li Diyu was smashed to the ground and smashed into a pile of mush. Are you going to admit defeat or not? Morong Yu didn't hit Li Diyu with his rod. He just asked this question. However, before Li Diyu could reply, he hit Li Diyu again. As a result, Li Diyu's body was smashed into a pile of mush by Morong Yu's rod before he could recover. In the end, as Morong Yu's rod continued to smash Li Diyu's body, Li Diyu's strength gradually weakened. Once his strength was completely exhausted, he would definitely die. Li Diyu's soul was still like a needle piercing into his body. He couldn't effectively react. Thinking that he might be killed, Li Diyu was terrified. He opened his mouth and wanted to admit defeat. However, as soon as he spoke, Morong Yu's rod smashed into his head. Then, Li Diyu's head exploded with a bang. F*CKU. Li Diyu cursed in his heart. His killing intent was overflowing. However, he quickly reformed his head. However, as soon as his head reformed, Morong Yu's rod came down again. Isn't this guy too ruthless? He wants Li Diyu to admit defeat, but he doesn't even have a chance to speak. Seeing Morong Yu's rod strike after strike, the onlookers felt a chill run down their spines. If you don't have the ability to kill him, then you definitely can't provoke him. The onlookers discussed animatedly. They were frightened by Morong Yu's ferocity. Chapter 12:28. Li Diyu was about to go crazy. He was a great sage powerhouse, but at this time, he was beaten by a pseudo-saint to the point that he couldn't even speak. This made him very angry, and the great humiliation constantly stimulated him. He was about to be suffocated by his anger. With his strength that reached the great sage realm, although his physical body was constantly being beaten up, he wouldn't die. As long as he had strength, he could still quickly reform his physical body. Although his soul was attacked, there was no fatal threat. Therefore, it was difficult for him to die. Do you admit defeat or not? Morong Yu kept beating Li Diyu up with his stick and asked loudly at the same time. However, did he really not know that Li Diyu couldn't speak, or did he do it deliberately? Obviously, everyone could see that Morong Yu did it deliberately. However, no one dared to stop Morong Yu. Even the powerhouses of the Li family who came after hearing the news were the same. This was because the city lord of White Sun City, Fang Tianhe, was watching this scene in the dark. If they dared to break the fairness of the duel, who knew what kind of consequences their Li family would have to bear? Moreover, they could see that Li Diyu wasn't in danger of dying. In fact, Morong Yu really wanted to beat Li Diyu to death with his stick. He had long found this guy unpleasant to the eye. Moreover, this bastard's mouth was very smelly. He kept saying "little bastard." However, Morong Yu also knew that he couldn't kill Li Diyu. Otherwise, no one could protect him. He could only escape. He didn't want that to happen for the time being, because he needed a place to settle down. However, not killing didn't mean that he couldn't beat him up. Therefore, he directly beat up Li Diyu, beating him to the point that Li Diyu even had the thought of dying. I admit defeat. When Morong Yu beat Li Diyu up again with his stick, Li Diyu's voice finally resounded in the arena. It wasn't a real voice, but a divine thought transmission. What a pity! Murong Yu picked up the dragon bone flame needle, and was about to smash it down, but Li Diyu had already shouted. Li Diyu, I told you to admit defeat a long time ago. Why didn't you admit defeat? If you had admitted defeat earlier, you wouldn't be so miserable. Murong Yu asked in a surprised voice. Li Diyu, who had just condensed his physical body, almost vomited blood when he heard this. Would he have a chance to speak? Moreover, he had been beaten up so badly that he had forgotten to directly send a voice transmission to Murong Yu to admit defeat. This made him even more aggrieved. After giving Murong Yu a vicious glare, Li Diyu turned around and was about to leave. The surrounding people were all staring at him with burning eyes. He really didn't have the face to continue staying here. When he saw this fellow turn around and leave, Murong Yu's face darkened, and he could only kindly remind him. Wait, Li Diyu, have you forgotten something? What did you forget? Isn't the challenge over? Li Diyu looked at Murong Yu with a puzzled expression. It was as if he really didn't know anything. Shameless. Motherf *Ker, why is this bastard like this? It's really shameful to be ranked with him as one of the 4 great young masters. Seeing the shameless Li Diyu, Yuan Zhen, Wu Guangde, and Zhou Xiuzhu, who were also part of the 4 great young masters, couldn't help but feel embarrassed for Li Diyu. Where's your prize? It's the high-grade sacred artifact, the 100 refined dim light mirror. Murong Yu sneered. Oh, look at me. I'm a little confused. I actually forgot about this, Li Diyu said as he threw the 100 refined dim light mirror directly to Murong Yu. Everyone covered their eyes with their hand. They really couldn't stand it anymore. One couldn't be shameless to this extent. How could he forget? He clearly wanted to renege on the debt. If it weren't for so many people watching, if it weren't for Fang Tianhe secretly watching, Li Diyu would definitely renege on the debt. Little bastard, protect the 100 refined dim light mirror for me. Soon, I will take it back. At that time, you will die. Li Diyu's expression was gloomy, and his voice was full of killing intent as he transmitted to Murong Yu. Murong Yu's expression changed slightly. Then, he sneered, I'm so scared. You are my defeated opponent. This is the truth, and you will never be my opponent. Li Diyu vomited blood. Today's defeat really made him feel humiliated. He even felt that Murong Yu had now become his inner demon. He had to kill Murong Yu. Only by killing Murong Yu personally could he wash away the humiliation he suffered today. Seeing Li Diyu quickly rushing to White Sun City, Murong Yu first smiled faintly, then shouted, Li Diyu, I know you are definitely not reconciled. If you want to find trouble with me, I will accompany you at any time. However, before you find trouble with me, please prepare the treasure. Otherwise, you can go back to where you came from. When the voice reached Li Diyu's ears, Li Diyu finally couldn't hold it in and vomited a mouthful of blood. Then, he turned around and stared at Murong Yu with incomparably resentful eyes, then quickly disappeared into the crowd. Trash. Murong Yu sneered. The surrounding crowd had black lines on their faces. They felt that Murong Yu was a little too arrogant. Wasn't the reason he defeated Li Diyu so quickly, and didn't even give Li Diyu a chance to attack, because he relied on the Dragonbone Flaming Needle? If he didn't have this high-grade saint artifact, how could he defeat the vicious and merciless Li Diyu? However, did Murong Yu really only rely on the Dragonbone Flaming Needle to defeat Li Diyu? Of course not. Although the Dragonbone Flaming Needle was powerful, a 9th-level Great Saint could only use it for 2 breaths of time. After 2 breaths of time, it would lose its power. With Murong Yu's strength, he could only use it for 1 breath of time at most. The reason he defeated Li Diyu was because he used the power of his soul. However, he used the Dragonbone Flaming Needle to cover it up. If Yuan Zhen hadn't lost to him with this saint artifact, he would probably have to rely on his speed to deal with Li Diyu. Murong Yu, are you alright? Seeing Murong Yu standing there without moving, Fang Ziwen couldn't help but walk up to him. Cough, cough. I'm fine. Do you have any more pills that can restore my strength? I've used up all my strength. Also, forcibly increasing my physical strength has damaged my body. Murong Yu's face was pale as he coughed dryly. As he asked, he wiped away a trace of blood at the corner of his mouth. Murong Yu was also seriously injured. The surrounding crowd couldn't help but nod. This was a normal situation. However, they didn't know that Murong Yu wasn't injured at all. Everything was just an act. One had to keep a low profile. Otherwise, trouble would come to him at any time. Fang Ziwen was depressed. She could only take out the precious pills and give them to Murong Yu. Murong Yu immediately wolfed down the pills. As he healed, he looked at Fang Ziwen again. Do you have any pills that can heal the soul? When I used the dragon bone flaming needle, my soul seemed to have been injured. Fang Ziwen's face darkened. Of course there were such pills in the holy world. However, she didn't have them. Even Fang Tianhe might not have them. That was because those pills were simply too precious. Because very few people were able to refine that kind of pill. Therefore, she said with a darkened face, no. Even if I did, I wouldn't give them to you. Murong Yu was speechless. Young miss, I'm still your subordinate. You can't be so heartless, right? Fang Ziwen's face darkened even more. When did you become my subordinate? Don't talk nonsense. Otherwise, I'll tear your mouth apart. After a pause, she said worriedly, your soul should be fine, right? Aren't I your guard? Of course I'm your subordinate. Murong Yu smiled and stood up. I shouldn't die. Let's go back. Let's go back and refine these two saint artifacts. Give it to me. Fang Ziwen extended her hand to Murong Yu. Murong Yu was stunned. He looked at Fang Ziwen in confusion. Give me one of the two sacred artifacts, Fang Ziwen said in a righteous manner. Murong Yu's face darkened. He quickly put the two saint artifacts into the Hichu Luoshu. You're the young miss of the city lord's mansion. You have the nerve to fight over saint artifacts with a commoner like me? Also, I'm curious. These are my spoils of war. Why should I give them to you? If I didn't use my saint artifacts as collateral, they wouldn't have challenged you. If they didn't challenge you, you wouldn't have had the chance to get these two saint artifacts. Also, I gave you so many precious pills. If it weren't for those pills, how could you have defeated Li Diu? Therefore, one of these two saint artifacts will belong to me. Murong Yu was stunned by her words. In the end, he nodded repeatedly. You're right. However, I can't give you these two saint artifacts. At most, I'll give you another saint artifact when I have one. Before she could finish her sentence, Murong Yu had already brushed past Fang Ziwen and strode toward the city gates. Seeing Murong Yu's departing figure, Fang Ziwen couldn't help but gnash her teeth. This stinking brat is getting more and more outrageous. Is he my retainer or am I his maidservant? This won't do. I must find a chance to teach him a lesson. I'll let him have a taste of my young miss's power. Murong Yu. On the way, Yuan Zhen walked over and called out to Murong Yu. Murong Yu stopped and looked at Yuan Zhen with a smile. Don't tell me you want the dragon bone flaming needles back? There's no room for negotiation. Yuan Zhen's face reddened. He really did have such intentions. However, he had no intention of snatching or threatening. He only wanted to exchange something of equal value. However, Murong Yu had long since seen through his intentions and stopped him before he could say anything. You gave that bastard Li Diu a good beating. That's really satisfying. However, that bastard is narrow-minded and vengeful. You need to be careful of his revenge, Yuan Zhen reminded in a low voice. Murong Yu smiled at Yuan Zhen. If he comes, I'll just beat him up again. I'm just afraid he won't come. Brother Yuan, I'll go back and treat my injuries first. If there's a chance, I'll find you for a drink. With that, Murong Yu turned and left. However, he wasn't rushing back to treat his injuries. Instead, he seemed to be on the verge of a breakthrough. Chapter 12:29. After Morong Yu returned to the city lord's mansion, he immediately entered Hichu Luoshu to cultivate. However, before entering Hichu Luoshu, he had already set up a series of formations in his residence. He didn't want anyone to barge in while he was breaking through. Fang Ziwen was a bit slower than Morongyu when she returned to the city lord's mansion. When she angrily arrived at Morongyu's residence, she was blocked by countless formations and restrictions. Stinking brat, even if you don't want to give me the saint weapon, you don't have to do this, right? Fang Ziwen thought, gnashing her teeth. She didn't know that Morongyu wanted to cultivate, not refuse to interact with her. However, in the end, Fang Ziwen didn't force her way in. Instead, she went to the main hall of the city lord's mansion. Father, do you think Morongyu's soul has become a saint? Only Fang Ziwen, Fang Tianhe, and Fang Ziwen were in the main hall. Fang Tianhe didn't say anything. He only muttered to himself. After a long time, he slowly said, whether or not his soul has become a saint, he is no ordinary person. Once he matures, his achievements won't be low. From beginning to end, Fang Tianhe had been watching all of this. Because of the dragon bone flaming needle, he didn't notice that Morongyu had used the power of his soul. However, Morongyu had used his physical body to defeat Yuanzhen, and then used the saint weapon in his hand to quickly defeat Li Du. Fang Tianhe had seen the terrifying explosive power contained in Morongyu's body, but he had remained calm. Father, is the power of that dragon bone flaming needle really that terrifying? I suspect that Morongyu used his own soul power, Fang Ziwen said with a frown. Why do you say that? Fang Tianhe looked at Fang Ziwen in surprise. Although his daughter wasn't very strong, she was meticulous and observant. She was practically his brain trust. According to Yuanzhen, even if a ninth-step great sage used all of his strength to activate the dragonbone flaming needle, he could only unleash its power for 2 breaths of time. Moreover, its power was still unknown. Even if Morongyu goes all out, I'm afraid he won't be able to activate the dragon bone flame needle. Fang Ziwen recalled the battle between Morongyu and Li Du and slowly explained. However, Fang Tianhe shook his head. You're wrong. Morongyu has indeed activated the might of the dragon bone flaming needle, and it lasts for more than 2 breaths. Fang Ziwen's face was filled with astonishment. Father, are you sure? Morongyu is in the false saint realm. His power will be devoured in an instant. How can he activate the power of the upper sacred weapon? A cold glint flashed in Fang Tianhe's eyes. He was certain that Morongyu indeed had that kind of power. However, what puzzled him was why Morongyu, a fake saint, had such great power. Could it be that he's pretending to be a pig to eat the tiger? He wasn't a false saint, but an existence of a higher realm? When he thought of this, a cold killing intent flashed in Fang Tianhe's eyes. If that was the case, then Morongyu definitely got close to Fang Ziwen on purpose. As for what evil intentions? If that's the case, I'll make you regret stepping into White Sun City. Fang Tianhe sneered in his heart. Feeling the killing intent in Fang Tianhe's heart, Fang Ziwen was obviously shocked. Then she reacted. Father, you suspect that Morongyu got close to me on purpose? Fang Tianhe nodded and said with some hesitation, I've seen Morongyu. He's really in the false saint realm. If he really got close to you on purpose, then the person who sealed his realm is at least an undead realm expert, or he himself is an undead realm expert. However, our White Sun City is only a small city. It's not worth it for him to spend so much effort to sneak in. In fact, what Fang Tianhe wanted to say was that if Morongyu was an undead realm expert or had an undead realm expert behind him, then he could just kill his way in. There was no need for him to go through so much trouble to sneak in. I'll pay attention to him. Fang Ziwen frowned. On the other side, after Morongyu entered Hichu Luoshu, he sat down cross-legged and began to cultivate. His breakthrough was not a breakthrough in cultivation. He had broken through from the false saint realm to the saint realm. Instead, he was finally going to make a breakthrough in the chaotic celestial record. For a long time, Morongyu had created a power clone to sit near the holy grade blood crystal and comprehend the chaotic celestial record. Now, he was finally going to make a breakthrough. With a thought, Morongyu, who had just sat down, appeared near the holy grade blood crystal that was the size of a small mountain. The holy grade Bible's murderous aura was still extremely violent. Even now, he could not directly devour it. He could not even get close to it. His comprehension ability had greatly increased. Before long, Morongyu even felt that he was rapidly approaching the 7th level of the chaotic celestial record. After an unknown period of time, Morongyu, who had been cultivating with his eyes closed, suddenly opened his eyes. 2 beams of holy light flashed in his eyes. "I've finally made a breakthrough!" Morongyu could not help but let out a long cry. Then, with a thought, countless Chaos Saint veins broke through the air and flew toward him. He was prepared to forcibly refine and devour their power to raise his cultivation to the Saint realm. Morongyu did not know how much the 7th level of the chaotic celestial record could raise his cultivation by. However, he could at least raise his cultivation to the Saint realm now. Only when one reached the Saint realm could one be considered a saint. Those below the Saint realm could only be considered as false saint. Regardless of status or strength, they were far inferior to a real saint. He directly devoured the Chaos Saint veins. Under the impact of the Chaos Saint veins' immense power, Morongyu's strength rapidly increased at a speed visible to the naked eye. In just a few breaths' time, he had raised his cultivation by a small level. If his previous cultivation level was only at the false saint realm, after devouring the Chaos Saint veins for half a day, his cultivation level rose to the false saint realm. He had even reached the peak of the false saint realm. Not long after, Morongyu's body shook violently. He had finally succeeded in crossing the last step from the false saint realm to the saint realm. From the moment he broke through, he had finally become a true saint. From this moment on, his strength soared instantly, more than 100 times higher than the peak of the false saint realm. However, after he broke through to the true saint realm, his cultivation level had stagnated. This made Morongyu depressed. Do I have to continue making breakthroughs in the chaotic celestial record to raise my cultivation level to a higher level? However, at the same time, Morongyu felt that his inability to raise his cultivation level had nothing to do with the chaotic celestial record. He felt that after the chaotic celestial record broke through to the 7th level, he could at least raise his cultivation level to the true saint realm. But now, for some reason, his cultivation level had stagnated. This was because he was surprised to find that all the power he had devoured had poured into his dantian. Since condensing the Godhead, every time Morongyu devoured and absorbed power, the power would be absorbed by his 3 Godheads. When it flowed through the meridians in his body, it would only pass by and would not stop. After he became a true saint, his Godhead had also become a saint Godhead. The position was the same as before. However, the transformation of the saint Godhead could not be completed in a short time. Now, his 3 Godheads were slowly undergoing the process of transforming from Godhead to Saint Godhead. During this process, the 3 Godheads had to absorb power. However, this had no effect on Morongyu's cultivation level breakthrough. The power absorbed by his dantian did not enter any of the 3 Saint Godheads. Instead, it condensed in his dantian and continued to condense. What's going on? Am I going to form a 4th Saint Godhead? Morongyu was a little confused. However, he did not stop absorbing power. Don't stop absorbing power. Make sure you have enough power. This is the transformation that happened after you reached the true saint realm after the chaotic celestial record reached the 7th level. It is very important for you. While Morongyu insisted, Hichu's solemn voice sounded in his ears. Transformation? Murong Yu was stunned, and he couldn't help but think of the transformation of his soul. He was pleasantly surprised. However, he became more careful, and more Chaos Saint bloodlines were pulled over to him. In fact, Murong Yu was prepared to return to the Chaos Secret Land if he did not have enough Chaos Saint bloodlines. Incomparably powerful energy poured into his dantian, condensing and compressing. This process lasted for a very long time. Finally, the quantitative change caused a qualitative change. The condensed and compressed energy started to take shape in Murong Yu's dantian, and it gradually formed the shape of a furnace. It's not a saint godhead? Murong Yu was stunned. At this time, the furnace formed by the condensed energy had turned from an illusory image to a real one. It was a four-legged, square, and black ancient cauldron with two handles. However, it was different from ordinary cauldrons. This cauldron was formed by condensed energy. Inside the cauldron, there were blazing chaos flames. When the cauldron materialized, it was suspended in Murong Yu's dantian. Then, Murong Yu saw the cauldron vibrate slightly, and in the next moment, he felt the countless Chaos Saint bloodlines around him being sucked into the cauldron and refined quickly. There was no need for Murong Yu to devour and refine it himself. What's going on? Murong Yu felt a little dizzy. A large amount of energy was being devoured and refined by the cauldron. With the replenishment of the energy, the cauldron became stronger and stronger. The cauldron is called the Chaos Cauldron, and it can melt everything. It's a transformation after the chaotic celestial body cultivates the record of the chaotic celestial body and reaches the saint realm. Hichu's voice sounded in Murong Yu's ears with a hint of surprise. However, Murong Yu heard Hichu's sigh of relief. What's the function of the Chaos Cauldron? Murong Yu quickly asked. Since it was a transformation, it must have an important function. Murong Yu felt that the appearance of the Chaos Cauldron would be of great benefit to his strength. It can refine everything, and after refining the energy of everything, it can be directly converted into your origin energy, directly increasing your strength and raising your cultivation realm. Hichu's voice was calm, but in Murong Yu's ears, it was like thunder in a clear sky. Chapter 12:30. The Chaos Furnace could smelt everything and convert them into origin energy, directly increasing one's strength. This sentence was not difficult to understand. For example, if a person's strength was originally 1, then as long as a huge amount of energy was refined by the Chaos Furnace, this person's strength would increase to 2, 3, or even more. It depended on how much energy was in the refined item. Murong Yu was instantly shocked. With the existence of the Chaos Furnace, did it mean that as long as he refined an item with enough energy, his realm would continue to increase? Then what cultivation technique did he need to comprehend? Why did he need to cultivate? At this time, Murong Yu finally understood why Hichu had always wanted him to collect items that contained a huge amount of energy. It was probably because of the Chaos Furnace. Although the Chaos Furnace is heaven-defying, it will not allow you to increase your realm quickly. You still need to cultivate the chaotic celestial record, Hichu explained at this time. Murong Yu was immediately puzzled. Then isn't this Chaos Furnace useless? Even without the Chaos Furnace, as long as I comprehend the chaotic celestial record, I can still increase my cultivation realm. At this point, Murong Yu's excitement dissipated a lot because he felt that the benefits of the Chaos Furnace were extremely limited. In the Hichu Luoshu, Hichu rolled his eyes and felt a little helpless about Murong Yu's short-sightedness. Therefore, he could only continue to explain. In the past, you could only refine elixirs, sacred meridians, and the like. Can you refine sacred artifacts, dharma treasures, or even other heaven and earth treasures? Moreover, after those energies are refined and absorbed by you, you still need to refine and purify them yourself. In the end, there are not many of them that can really become your strength. But the Chaos Furnace can smelt everything. although there are some losses in the process. However, it would directly purify and increase one's strength. It's self-evident whether it's useful or not. After Hichu's explanation, Morong Yu also understood. The chaos furnace was still very beneficial to him. If you don't cultivate the chaotic celestial record, the chaos furnace can increase your realm faster, as long as there is enough energy to be refined. Hichu rolled his eyes. If you hadn't cultivated the chaos celestial body record, and if you weren't a chaos celestial body, you wouldn't have been able to form a chaos furnace. Morong Yu was embarrassed and immediately changed the topic. The surprise you mentioned is not just the chaos furnace, right? Although the chaos furnace is enough of a surprise. What other surprises do you want? After condensing the chaos furnace, you can also see the strength of any item, Hichu said as he rolled his eyes. However, no matter how Morong Yu asked, how was he supposed to judge the strength of his opponent? However, he did not say anything. He wanted Morong Yu to find out for himself. Morong Yu pondered for a moment before he prepared to leave Hichu Luoshu. Should I first refine the Chaos Saint vein to raise my cultivation level, or should I explore this method that depends on strength? However, just as he was thinking about it, he suddenly paused. This was because he saw something he had never seen before. Because he had cultivated the Zai technique. He could directly see the aura left behind by every life in the void. The stronger one was, the bigger and stronger the white light formed by the aura. Because of the heavenly punishment token, he could see whether every life was evil or good. Evil people were shrouded in black light, while good people were shrouded in white light. The higher the level, the stronger the light. However, at this time, Morong Yu saw more light in his eyes than before. It was different from the aura, the light left by good people, and the light left by evil people. The light he saw now was emitted from various items. The intensity and color of the light emitted by different items were different. For example, if Morong Yu was looking at a ball of fire, then the ball of fire in his eyes would emit a red light in addition to the light it emitted naturally. If it was water, it would emit a black light. Metal would emit a white light. Morong Yu immediately came to a realization. The reason why these items were emitting different colors was due to their different attribute. However, why were they emitting light? Why were there differences in the intensity of the light between different items? Could it be that the light represents the strength of the item itself? Morong Yu's heart skipped a beat. He immediately took out all the sacred weapons he had obtained, including the bow of heaven and earth and the yin-yang cauldron. Intense but not dazzling light burst out from these saint artifacts. Among them, the tempered dim light mirror's light was the weakest, followed by the dragonbone flame needle's light, and then the astral secret light bell's light. Among them, the bow of heaven and earth's light was the most intense, so much so that Morong Yu found it dazzling. However, although the bow of heaven and earth's light was strong, it was far inferior to the yin-yang cauldron's light. In Morong Yu's eyes, the yin-yang cauldron's light was far more dazzling than the sun in the sky, so much so that he didn't dare to look directly at it. It was definitely more powerful than a sacred weapon. Is it a supreme weapon or a ruler's weapon? Morong Yu thought to himself. He grabbed at the air and directly pulled Nuwa's sacred hall over. However, when he compared it, he became depressed. This was because he saw that although the light from Nuwa's sacred hall definitely surpassed that of a supreme-grade sacred weapon, the astral wind bell, it was still far inferior to the bow of heaven and earth, let alone the yin-yang cauldron. Wasn't Nuwa a supreme expert? Nuwa's sacred hall is a supreme weapon. How could it be so inferior to the bow of heaven and earth? Could it be that Nuwa's sacred hall is damaged? Morong Yu thought to himself. Or could it be that the yin-yang cauldron, a treasure born of chaos, is of a higher level than Nuwa's sacred hall? Morong Yu was a little nervous when he thought of this possibility. It seems that I need to use the yin-yang cauldron and Hichu Luoshu less in the future. If I'm discovered by those supreme or ruler's weapons, I won't be able to escape. After observing for a while, Morong Yu was certain that the light represented the strength of the items. This way, I won't miss out on treasures in the future. Morong Yu smiled, then appeared in the courtyard of the city lord's mansion. With a wave of his hand, he immediately removed the formations and restrictions. However, in the next moment, his face darkened. After he removed the formations and restrictions, he saw Fang Ziwen standing angrily at the entrance of the mansion. She was looking at the mansion with an unfriendly expression, as if she wanted to break the formations and restrictions by force. "Young Miss Fang, we're honored by your presence. May I know what's the matter? If there's nothing else, I'm going to continue cultivating." Morong Yu walked out with a dark expression. The moment she saw Morong Yu, Fang Ziwen's face darkened. When she heard his words, her pretty face darkened even more, like charcoal. She didn't say anything and just walked straight in. However, after taking a few steps, she noticed a pair of eyes staring at her. As if sensing something, she looked over and happened to see Morong Yu staring at her in a daze, unable to take his eyes off her. Fang Ziwen was furious. "How can you look at people like that? You're too rude." While she was angry, Fang Ziwen was also happy. This was because Morong Yu had never looked at her like this before. Women's thoughts were very strange. If a man stared at her blankly, she would feel very unhappy. However, if that man didn't even look at her, she would feel very unhappy. While Fang Ziwen was secretly delighted, thinking that Morong Yu was captivated by her beauty, she didn't know that Morong Yu wasn't attracted to her at all. Morong Yu was indeed stunned, but he only saw the light emitted from Fang Ziwen's body. The light emitted from Fang Ziwen's body was naturally inferior to that of a high-grade saint artifact. However, Morong Yu only thought that he could see the power of light from lifeless and sentient objects. He didn't think that he could see the strength of a person. As long as the other person was a cultivator, even if their cultivation was much higher than Morong Yu's, wouldn't he be able to see the strength of the other person's cultivation? I wonder if the power of light that can be seen after suppressing one's cultivation is the highest level of light or the power of suppressed cultivation. If it's the highest level of light, then no one will be able to pretend to be a pig to eat a tiger in front of me in the future. Morong Yu thought. His mind was no longer on Fang Ziwen. However, his eyes were still on Fang Ziwen. It was because of this that Fang Ziwen misunderstood. "Morong Yu, you actually broke through?" While Fang Ziwen was secretly delighted, she couldn't help but glance at Morong Yu, which immediately startled her. In just one day, Morong Yu had broken through. Morong Yu withdrew his gaze and smiled. "I comprehended a bit from the battle with Yuan Zhen and the others, so I broke through." Fang Ziwen rolled her eyes. "You broke through just because you comprehended a bit? You broke through in just a few days? How lucky." She knew that countless people would never be able to take this step in their entire lives. Even with Fang Tianhe's various resources, it took her a long time to break through from the false saint realm to the sage realm. Moreover, she was a genius. Could it be that this stinking brat's talent is even greater than mine? It doesn't seem like it. Fang Ziwen muttered in her heart. "Young Miss Fang, what do you want?" Morong Yu asked. He didn't want to waste time. "Come with me to the Blue Flame auction house." Fang Ziwen remembered her business and turned to leave. Morong Yu was puzzled. The Blue Flame auction house wasn't far. With Fang Ziwen's speed, it wouldn't take long for her to arrive. Why did she have to bring him along? Seeing Morong Yu still standing there without any intention of moving, Fang Ziwen couldn't help but become angry. "Are you going or not?" Seeing that Fang Ziwen was about to flip out, Morong Yu quickly followed. Now was not the time to have a falling out with Fang Ziwen. He was still thinking about the secret place in the city lord's mansion. Chapter 12:31. It was still the same 4 guards, but these 4 guards were not like Morong Yu. They consciously followed behind Fang Ziwen. On the other hand, Morong Yu, the top-notch servant, didn't have the slightest bit of self-awareness as he walked alongside Fong Ziwen. And what made the four guards most depressed was that Murong Yu's face was not in a good mood. As a guard, of course, he had to follow his master at all times. Even if he was doing something he liked to do, he had to immediately set off. But Murong Yu was not like this was a different fate. Oh! On the way, Murong Yu's figure suddenly stopped. His face flashed with a touch of doubt. What's wrong? Seeing Murong Yu's strange look, Fong Ziwen could not help but ask. Murong Yu's eyes slightly narrowed, but his huge spirit sense had already spread out. But he did not find anything. It's nothing, maybe I am too sensitive. Murong Yu first looked at Fong Ziwen's four guards. After seeing that they were not strange, he slowly said. Fong Ziwen rolled her eyes, turned her head and continued to walk towards the blue flame auction. And Murong Yu also followed. Hichu, did you feel a trace of faintly discernible killing intent? Murong Yu walked while communicating with Hichu. Believe in yourself. Hichu did not comment, he just said so. Murong Yu secretly nodded in his heart, then he became more careful. He believed that he really did feel a killing intent just now. At the same time when Murong Yu stopped, in a building not far in front of Murong Yu, a black-clothed man's whole body was wrapped in a black robe, only revealing his eyes. His heart flashed with a touch of surprise. This kid can actually feel my killing intent? The black-clothed man withdrew his gaze from Murong Yu. However, Murong Yu's keen senses really surprised him. One must know that although his strength was not very strong, he had definitely surpassed Murong Yu. This was because there was no one else other than Murong Yu who could sense his killing intent. Even Fong Ziwen's guards, who had reached the Great Sage Realm, didn't find any clues. However, even if your senses are 10 times sharper, you won't be able to escape death today. The black-clothed man sneered, his killing intent overflowing. Could it really be an illusion? After walking for a while, Murong Yu did not feel any more killing intent. He couldn't help but hesitate. But a cold light flashed in Murong Yu's eyes. It was always right to be careful. Although he had only just ascended to the Holy World and had not interacted with many people, the Holy World was still filled with people. However, wasn't there the vengeful Li Diu? Although the White Sun City was a small city, it was many times larger than those super cities in the Holy World. Murong Yu and the others didn't fly, so they couldn't avoid walking into some remote streets. At this time, they passed by the foot of a mountain. There were no buildings on either side, only some tall trees, which seemed a little gloomy. Suddenly, an extremely strong and terrifying killing intent appeared out of nowhere. Immediately, Murong Yu's heart was enveloped by an extremely strong aura of death. Qi. When Murong Yu's heart was enveloped by the terrifying killing intent, the clothes on his body instantly burst open. The terrifying murderous intent seeped into his body. Instantly, cracks appeared on his body. Pieces of flesh flew everywhere, and blood splattered. Under this terrifying killing intent, Murong Yu's physical strength actually began to collapse. And this was only the killing intent. It didn't even have the slightest bit of physical strength. This killing intent even penetrated Murong Yu's soul space, wanting to crush his soul. Assassin! Murong Yu immediately reacted. With a thought, he took out all kinds of magic treasures, which hovered around him. When he took out the Yin-Yang cauldron and other magic treasures, a crack suddenly appeared in the void in front of him. A sword light appeared out of nowhere, as if it had crossed countless time and space from the ancient times. It carried a terrifying aura that could destroy heaven and earth. It crossed time and space, and quickly strangled Murong Yu's head. Chi-Chi. When the sword light appeared, the violent sword Chi rippled in all directions, strangling everything. As soon as it appeared, the air around the sword light was compressed and exploded. The giant trees on the street were directly crushed into powder. Murong Yu's heart suddenly jumped. When he saw the sword light appear, the extremely strong aura of death in his heart suddenly increased by more than 1,000 times. Kill! Because Murong Yu had long since noticed the abnormality, he immediately let out a roar the moment the sword ray appeared. The Yin-Yang cauldron and various other saint artifacts and treasures were pushed to their limits by him to meet the sword ray head-on. At the same time, the angelic wings appeared in an instant, flapping wildly. Suddenly, Murong Yu turned into a stream of light and retreated rapidly. At this time, Fang Ziwen and the others didn't even have time to react. Boom! 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 The Yin-Yang cauldron burst out a terrifying chaotic fire that could burn everything. But it couldn't stop the sword light. After just one collision, the Yin-Yang cauldron was sent flying. Murong Yu's mind was also injured in an instant. However, the sword light didn't stop at all, and it didn't lose any energy. After it sent the Yin-Yang cauldron flying, it still locked onto Murong Yu and quickly strangled him. Murong Yu's heart sank. Although he didn't see who had slashed out this sword light, he vaguely guessed the strength of the person who had slashed out this sword light. It was at least a great saint or maybe even higher. The undead realm. Murong Yu's speed was extremely fast, but the sword light was even faster. It was like a shadow attached to the body, like a gangrene attached to the bone. Even though Murong Yu had retreated as fast as he could, the distance between him and the sword light was getting smaller and smaller. Moreover, the closer the sword light was, the more terrifying the power of the explosion was. At this time, Murong Yu's body wasn't as simple as cracking, but began to be annihilated in large areas. Even the flesh and blood in front of him were annihilated to the point that even his internal organs could be seen. Even though the recovery ability of life force was extremely terrifying, it couldn't heal these wounds. One could imagine how terrifying the lethality of the sword light was. Murong Yu's expression changed again and again. The strength of the person who attacked him was really too strong. He could only retreat quickly now, and he didn't even have the time to enter the Hichu Luoshu world. With the opponent's speed, even if he entered the Hichu Luoshu world, the sword light would follow him into the Hichu Luoshu world and eventually kill him directly. However, although Murong Yu was shocked, he didn't panic. Even the dragon bone flaming needle, tempered dark light mirror, and other treasures didn't activate their power. They were still spinning in front of him, as if to block the sword light's attack. How dare you! Protect the young miss. At this time, Fang Ziwen's 4 guards finally reacted. Amidst the loud roar, 2 of them directly protected Fang Ziwen behind them, while the other 2 unleashed their strongest attacks toward the sword light. As for Fang Ziwen, she was still a little stunned at this time. It seemed like she hadn't reacted yet. Scram! At the same time when the 2 great saint stage guards made their move, a deep and somewhat sinister voice suddenly shouted. At the same time, the sword light trembled slightly, and 2 forces shot out. The 2 guards who made their move had a sudden change in expression. The forces that were shot out were about to attack the 2 forces that were shooting toward them. However, it was already too late. The 2 forces seemed to have directly crossed the obstruction of the void and directly bombarded their bodies. In an instant, the 2 great saints were sent flying, and they continuously spat out blood in the void. Bang! Bang! After 2 sounds, the 2 of them suddenly exploded in mid-air. There was no sign of life. Even their souls had been destroyed by the explosion. These were 2 high-level great saints. They didn't even have the ability to resist and were blasted to death? Seeing this scene, Murong Yu and Fang Ziwen's 2 guards were shocked. In addition to being shocked, one of the 2 guards grabbed Fang Ziwen, and then rushed toward the city lord's mansion. The last guard also quickly flew toward the city lord's mansion while protecting the 2 of them. They directly abandoned Murong Yu. Of course, this was the most appropriate reaction. After all, their mission was to protect Fang Ziwen, not Murong Yu. In the end, Murong Yu was just a guard. Go save Murong Yu. Fang Ziwen finally reacted at this time and screamed. In fact, it wasn't that Fong Ziwen's reaction was too slow, but that everything happened too quickly. From the moment the killing intent erupted to when Fong Ziwen was taken away by the guard, only 2 seconds had passed. Damn it! Am I really going to be doomed today? Murong Yu felt a little irritated when he saw the sword light flying toward him at high speed. However, he still remained calm. What should I do? Hundreds of millions of thoughts flashed through Murong Yu's mind, but none of them could help him escape. That was the sword light. It was just that the sword light's strength was too terrifying. His strength as a saint was simply too weak. It was like an ant trying to shake a tree. Didn't he see that the 2 great saints were directly strangled to death? After thinking about it, Murong Yu felt that the most feasible way was to enter Hichu Luoshu. However, that sword light would definitely follow him in. This was nothing. Murong Yu was worried that the killer would follow him into Hichu Luoshu. If that happened, Murong Yu would definitely suffer a tragedy. Soul attack. Murong Yu finally activated the refined dim light mirror and dragonbone flaming needle's power. Suddenly, waves of soul power burst out and swept in all directions. However, Murong Yu knew that it was futile, because that killer was simply nearby. If he didn't even know where the killer was, then no matter how powerful the soul attack was, it was useless. Damn it, old Lu, if you keep pretending to be dead, we'll all become real dead soon. Murong Yu used Hichu Luoshu to protect his body. The yin-yang cauldron flew back to protect him. At the same time, he constantly transmitted messages to kill Lu Haotsong, who was in seclusion. In fact, he had been bombarding Lu Haotsong constantly when he was attacked, but Lu Haotsong didn't wake up. Chapter 1232. Chi-Chi. Under the terrifying pressure of the sword light, Murong Yu's entire body was rapidly melting. Even if he used Hichu Luoshu to cover his whole body, even if his life force was invincible, he still couldn't restore his body. If this continued, even if the sword light didn't hit him, he would be killed by the pressure of the sword light. The gap in strength between the 2 sides was too big. The opponent was definitely an existence beyond the Great Sage. Even the strength of a 9th stage Great Sage wasn't so terrifying, because neither the Hichu Luoshu nor the yin-yang cauldron had any effect. Although these super treasures couldn't block the attack of a Great Sage, it was absolutely no problem to resist it. What shocked Murong Yu the most was that Fong Ziwen's Great Sage guards were directly killed. Lu Haotsong was in seclusion. No matter how Murong Yu shouted, there was no response. It was impossible to rely on him. If he wanted to save his life, he could only rely on himself. He absolutely couldn't rely on others. Logically speaking, the City Lord of White Sun City would definitely take action. After all, Murong Yu was also a member of the City Lord's mansion. There was no reason for her not to take action when she was attacked by an assassin. However, from the time Murong Yu was attacked until now, only a few breaths had passed. When Fang Tianhe reacted, she was afraid that she could only collect Murong Yu's corpse. Soul attacks were useless. Soul attacks could only be used on the opponent's soul. But now the opponent was not within the range of Murong Yu's soul attack at all. Therefore, it was impossible for Murong Yu to attack the opponent's soul to affect the opponent's attack. Then, I can only enter Hichu Luoshu. Murong Yu gritted his teeth and made up his mind. Although the opponent might also follow him into Hichu Luoshu, this was his only chance of survival. With a thought, the Hichu Luoshu opened a hole just enough for Murong Yu to enter. With a whoosh, Murong Yu rushed into the Hichu and Luoshu. Sure enough, although Murong Yu had quickly turned the Hichu Luoshu around and closed it when he entered. However, the sword light followed closely behind him like a shadow, rushing into the world of Hichu and Luoshu. As soon as the sword light entered, the space of Hichu Luoshu began to shatter quickly and be annihilated. Kill! Murong Yu let out a roar and his figure instantly disappeared. At the same time, the power of the entire He-Tu and Luo Shu was mobilized by him, and it quickly strangled the sword light. It had to be said that this sword light was really terrifying. As the ruler of the He-Tu and the Book of Luo worlds, he was unable to destroy it even after using all of his powers. But here, Luoshu world was Luoshu world. Although he couldn't directly annihilate the sword light, he was quickly wearing it down. Not long after, the sword light was annihilated. At this point in time, Murong-Yu should have breathed a sigh of relief. After all, he'd already destroyed the sword ray. But Murong-Yu was getting more and more nervous. Because, not bad, there's actually such a treasure. Looks like my low price this time was worth it. Just after the sword light was annihilated, a somewhat sinister voice sounded in the He-Tu Luo Shu. At the same time, a black-clothed man with only a pair of eyes appeared in front of Murong-Yu. "Who are you? Why do you want to kill me?" Murong-Yu looked at the black-clothed man with a dignified expression. The black-clothed man just sneered and looked around. He didn't answer. Murong-Yu's eyes flashed with a cold light. In fact, even if the black-clothed man didn't say it, he could guess. In the realm of the gods, the only one who had a grudge with him was Li Diu. This guy wanted to get rid of him long ago. Moreover, he caused him to lose a high-grade sacred weapon in the end. It was normal for him to hire someone to deal with Murong-Yu. Of course, it couldn't be ruled out that other jealous people hired an assassin to kill Murong-Yu. After all, in the White Sun City, a high-grade sacred weapon was already a treasure of the clan. And Murong-Yu suddenly had two of them. Moreover, they were both soul attack sacred weapons. Soul attack sacred weapons were more precious than ordinary sacred weapons. It was at least 100 times more valuable. In fact, the value of Murong-Yu's Bone Dragon Flaming Needle and Tempered Dim Light Mirror were equivalent to ordinary top-grade sacred weapons. Therefore, countless people thought of the sacred weapons in his hand. However, this meant that Murong-Yu wouldn't be able to determine who had attacked him. "Kill yourself." The black-clothed man looked coldly at Murong-Yu and said indifferently. Murong-Yu couldn't help but laugh. "You're in my territory now, and you're still so confident? I have to admit that this spatial treasure of yours is beyond my expectations. However, you still have to die, and all of your treasures will change owners." Speaking of which, the black-clothed man couldn't help but laugh. It was as if he had already taken all of Murong-Yu's treasures for himself. "Is that so? However, I have to admit that you're strong. You should be an undead realm powerhouse, right? You actually attacked me, a first-level saint. Is this my honor? Or is this your humiliation? You're strong and I can't kill you. However, there are many people who can kill you." Murong-Yu's voice was originally calm. However, it suddenly became fierce as he spoke. At the same time, the black-clothed man's heart was suddenly enveloped by an extremely strong sense of danger. Immediately, he was shocked. His figure instantly retreated. At the same time, he saw a stream of light containing an extremely terrifying aura rushing towards him. An undead realm powerhouse? When he saw the aura, the black-clothed man couldn't help but cry out in shock. His voice was filled with fear, and his eyes were also full of fear. "Retreat! Retreat! There was actually an undead realm powerhouse here." The black-clothed man was scared to death. He was strong, but he was only in the undead realm. He would be easily killed by an undead realm powerhouse. Therefore, all he could do was retreat continuously in an attempt to leave this place. "Open!" Seeing that the black-clothed man kept retreating, Murong-Yu roared in his heart. Suddenly, he silently opened the He-Tu Luo Shu. However, the black-clothed man didn't notice and continued to retreat quickly. Then, with a swoosh, he rushed out of the He-Tu Luo Shu. After the black-clothed man left, the He-Tu Luo Shu quickly closed and disappeared. No, although the other party released the aura of an undead realm powerhouse. However, there wasn't any killing intent. Damn it, I was tricked. It wasn't until he left the Hichu Luoshu that the black-clothed man reacted. With a roar in his heart, he suddenly slashed out fiercely at the location of Hitu and Luoshu. However, Murong Yu had already teleported away. Boom! After Murong Yu left, the black-clothed man's attack didn't miss. It directly smashed a towering mountain into pieces. Countless buildings and sages in the vicinity were directly annihilated. For a moment, blood flowed like a river, and cries could be heard everywhere. "Who started a massacre in my Blood Rain Mountain?" A roar came, but it made the black-clothed man's face change greatly. He was actually sent to the Blood Rain Mountain. He naturally knew about the Blood Rain Mountain. "Murong Yu, you little bastard, I will kill you!" The black-clothed man cursed. His figure flickered, and he shot out of the Blood Rain Mountain. The Blood Rain Mountain had ninth-stage profound sages. How could an undead realm black-clothed man kill so many of their disciples? And why was there no response? It should be known that the black-clothed man was inside the Blood Rain Mountain. In the Blood Rain Mountain, there were people cultivating all the time. Who knew that the black-clothed man's attack wasn't just for cultivation, but out of anger? Moreover, the various defensive formations of the Blood Rain Mountain only protected the outside and not the inside. If the black-clothed man attacked the Blood Rain Mountain from the outside, he wouldn't be able to shake the defensive formation of the Blood Rain Mountain. Therefore, the black-clothed man killed many disciples of the Blood Rain Mountain. The black-clothed man immediately wanted to escape, but in the Blood Rain Mountain, where experts were as numerous as clouds, how could he escape? His figure flickered, and he hadn't left yet. A monstrous hand had already pierced through the air, directly grabbing him who was about to escape. Then, with a fierce force, the black-clothed man, an undead realm expert, exploded, and his soul was also shattered. He was directly killed. "Murong Yu, you little bastard!" At the moment of death, the black-clothed man roared with all his strength, incomparably resentful. At this time, Murong Yu had already left the Blood Rain Mountain and didn't hear the black-clothed man's roar. Ho ho! In the Hichu Luoshu world, Murong Yu sat on the ground, gasping for breath. The scene just now was really too dangerous. The slightest wrong step would have consigned him to eternal damnation. Because he could see the strength of the black-clothed man, Murong Yu had already confirmed that the other party was only in the undead realm when he saw him, because his strength was much weaker than Lu Haotsong. It was also after confirming the black-clothed man's realm that Murong Yu came up with a plan. Wasn't Lu Haotsong in seclusion? Although he couldn't wake up, his body was emitting the aura of the undead realm. Moreover, he was still in the Hichu Luoshu world. Therefore, Murong Yu directly used Lu Haotsong's whole body as a sacred weapon to attack the black-clothed man. Murong Yu's purpose was only to scare the black-clothed man and scare him out of the Hichu Luoshu world. The black-clothed man was indeed tricked and was scared out of the Hichu Luoshu world. Moreover, at the same time that Murong Yu was talking to him, the Hichu Luoshu world had already teleported to the Blood Rain Mountain. Killing with a borrowed knife. Sure enough, his method didn't have any flaws, and he successfully killed the black-clothed man with the help of the Blood Rain Mountain. Of course, with Murong Yu's character, he would kill the black-clothed man himself. But the difference in strength between him and the black-clothed man was too great. He didn't know how long it would take to kill him. Moreover, the black-clothed man knew too many of his secret. Therefore, he definitely wouldn't allow the black-clothed man to continue living. However, his success was just a fluke, because if the black-clothed man had reacted earlier, as long as he slashed out with his sword, Murong Yu and Lu Haotsong would be dead. However, luck was also a part of strength. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.